Qin Mu had a weird feeling when he looked at the seemingly endless graveyard. There were seemingly 3 totally different worlds in the 33 heavens of Carefree Village. The old officials of Founding Emperor were filled with displeasure, complained a lot, and were self-ruinous, while the new generation enjoyed life and was extravagant. Yet, the Qin bloodline was fighting with their lives for the sake of Carefree Village's safety. This was too ludicrous. Carefree Village is deformed or, in other words, has fallen apart. Qin Mu recollected. A deteriorated Carefree Village where the Tao hearts of the older generation collapsed as they abandoned their original vow to protect the citizens. As for the newer generations, they lived in and were addicted to endless luxury and carefreeness. Meanwhile, the Qin family defended Carefree Village to the point of self-ruination because they felt ashamed towards the citizens and the older generation on top of their desire to guard Founding Emperor's glory and Carefree Village's peace. Were you guys afraid that I would be buried here like my ancestors, which is why I wasn't allowed back here? Qin Mu shook his head. The Carefree Village he had imagined had already collapsed and ceased to exist. He felt that the sacrifices made by his ancestors to protect Founding Emperor's glory and Carefree Village weren't worth it at all. Founding Emperor cut half of the Permitha world then to establish Carefree Village, which offended the Masters of Creation. Today, we built the Permitha Yudu to bring peace to both sides. Qin Mu said to Qin Hanjin. From today onwards, no son of the Qin family will need to fight the Masters of Creation to defend the glory of Founding Emperor. Qin Hanjin shook his head and walked forward, saying, "The future generations will still fight to the death for Founding Emperor's glory. Carefree Village is this way. Even if we leave Carefree Village, isn't the outside world another Carefree Village?" Qin Mu followed him, and they walked past one grave after another. They felt peaceful due to their emptiness. The deaths of his ancestors and the war against the Masters of Creation made him laugh and cry, but he couldn't do both. He could only shake his head. Ever since he matured, he had searched for Carefree Village bitterly. Ultimately, what he got was a mere mirage. It was hard for one to understand him unless one was in his shoes. As they got closer to the Qingzhen residence, the number of graves decreased. There were younglings there cultivating hard. They were likely the younger generations of the family. They were about the same age as Qin Mu. Some were older while some were younger by a few years. There were only dozens of disciples of the Qin family, but their training was harder than everyone else's in Carefree Village. They ground their corporeal bodies, vital qi, and consciousness as if they were ascetic monks. A lot of the newer generations of Carefree Village only cared about enjoying themselves. It was rare to see people cultivating so hard. Qin Mu stopped to look and asked Qin Hanjin, "Is this all that is left of our family?" Qin Hanjin nodded and said, "Yes. Who still feels that you are royalty after being 100 generations apart from the emperor? Only you think so, only you insist on this piece of pride. If one doesn't work hard, one will die brutally when the Masters of Creation attack." It was only when Fengqing returned that we relaxed. Qin Mu looked at them for a while, and Qin Hanjin summoned a girl and said, "Seeing, this is your cousin." That girl was sweating before she used her vital qi to steam all of her sweat. She looked at Qin Mu curiously before saying, "He's obviously the Masters of Creation's holy infant. He was very scary. He made many people cry. I was so scared I cried too." Qin Mu smiled and retrieved a drop of the primordial liquid, then visualized a pearl and sealed the liquid inside. He gave it to her and smiled. "If you wear it around your neck, it will help you in your cultivation." She accepted it and ran away to cultivate. Seeing is the youngest in the family. She's your uncle's posthumous child. She's barely 10 years old. I'm the one teaching her now. Qin Hanjin said, "Let's go home. I will take you to the ancestral shrine to worship your ancestors." Qin Mu nodded. The Qingzhen residence wasn't big. It wasn't extravagant like the Dragon Alteration Heaven either, but the ancestral shrine was large. Princess Consort Zhen and Shu Jun waited for them outside as Qin Hanjin led Qin Mu in. He saw memorial tablets arranged in an orderly fashion, which created a large sacrificial altar. This place was solemn with a heavy atmosphere. Qin Mu followed Qin Hanjin as they kowtowed and offered incense. Qin Hanjin took out the Qin family register and inquired, "Shall I add your name in?" Qin Mu hesitated before rejecting him. "I am going to fight Founding Emperor. Before that, I can't appear there." After that, I still can't appear in it. Qin Hanjin was stunned. Fighting founding emperor equated fighting the family's ancestors. Qin Mu couldn't fight him as the 107th descendant, for it wouldn't be filial of him. After that, Qin Mu would be a master-deceiving and ancestor-destroying rascal that shouldn't appear there. He should be weeded out of it. Do you really want to go this far? Qin Hanjin couldn't help but ask. After that, you can never enter this place. After you die, your grave can't be in our graveyard. You will become a lone ghost with no one from the family worshipping you. Qin Mu smiled and said, Carefree Village can't wake up if I don't fight him. Founding Emperor wishes for it too. He wants to be beaten out of Carefree Village. I can't disappoint him. He smiled. I am a catfish let into the pool that is Carefree Village. He wishes for me to revive the dead pond here. Not to stir things up in order to get the disappointed fishes to be active again. To get the fishes drunk on their dreams to wake up. I have to do my part as the catfish. Qin Hanjin was silent before warning him. Founding Emperor is very terrifying. I know. I saw the mark he left behind in the Great Void when he fought Celestial Venerable Hua. Celestial Venerable Hua's cultivation was stronger, but his blade injured him anyways. Qin Mu said, Amongst the 10 current Celestial Venerables, Celestial Venerable Hua may not be the strongest, but he isn't the weakest either. To be able to cause Celestial Venerable Hua to leave behind a great Tao imprint and be injured, Founding Emperor's power is above my expectations. Qin Hanjin said, His power goes beyond his sword Tao. It may be his greatest strength, but his divine arts are just as strong. Qin Mu nodded and said, When I met him in the first year of the Dragon Han era, he was matchless in sword skills and divine arts. When I angered Mistress Yuanmu by severely injuring Celestial Venerable Hao, he used his divine arts to break out and save me. The marvels of it impress me to this very day. Qin Hanjin went silent for a moment before saying, You should leave, I can't have you here. Qin Mu bowed before leaving. The sunlight outside stung his eye. Qin Mu blocked it with his hand and looked back. The Qin family's ancestral shrine looked solemn. It served the ancestors of the family, but he could never enter it again. He looked at Princess Consort Zhen, bowed to her, and walked out of the King Zhen residence with Xu Jun. Princess Consort Zhen looked at his back and opened her mouth, but she didn't say anything. Qin Hanjin came to her side and stood with her as she lay on his shoulder in a strengthless manner. I guess Moore will never return again, she whispered. Qin Mu looked at the Qin family disciples cultivating hard and walked by them. Cousin, that little girl named Qin Seeing waved at him. Qin Mu waved back. This place had the warmth of home, but he could never stay there. He took Xu Jun with him through the graves of his ancestors. As they went, Qin Mu took some dirt and stored it in the Qin word land. Xu Jun was perplexed. Qin Mu in return smiled and said, When I die, I can't be buried here, but there must always be dirt from my home on my grave. They reached the 33rd heaven, which was where the founding Emperor Celestial Heavens was. The various officials of the Celestial Heavens were already there, quietly waiting for this battle of the Celestial Venerables. Their corporeal bodies were large, and they stood at various corners of the Celestial Palace. They silently watched him walk through the southern heavenly gate and between the solemn-looking palaces and halls. He walked through the Celestial Street and passed by the Jade Stage and Jade Pool on his way to the Jade Capital. The founding Emperor Celestial Heavens was arranged in the same way as the Dragon Han one, but the Dragon Han Celestial Heavens was simpler in decoration. The realm wasn't as vast either. However, in terms of luxury, the former was far more luxurious than the latter. After all, this was Carefree Village, a part of the Permitha world. It was way easier to visualize and create things here than any other place. Qin Mu didn't use any divine arts and walked a step at a time. Although the founding Emperor Celestial Heavens wasn't vast, it still took a while for him to walk through. He looked like an earnest seeker of the path as he examined things every step of the way. He was examining his moral compass, not the Celestial Heavens, however. There were no masters of creation here aside from Xu Jun, for it was something between the two of them. The masters of creation wouldn't interfere in things that didn't involve them. They had no need to witness their duel either. There were only the old guards of Founding Emperor present. The Tao Master of Founding Emperor's Tao Sect, Su Maiqing, Sun Guardian Yen Rinyuan, the 4 assistants, Fang Yuji, Gao Baishuan, Zhou Jingmeng, and Zhou Xuanfang, and other old gods from various departments all watched Qin Mu as he approached the Jade capital. They were visibly expectant as they rubbed their palms. Yan Rinyuan was sharpening his blade and gradually eradicating its rust. Besides them, there were new gods as well. They were in the Jade capital, which was the most luxurious place there. Some of them were happy that Qin Mu was here, while some whistled. Others were restless. Qin Mu pretended not to see or hear them. Qin Hanjin and Princess Consort Zhen brought countless Qin family disciples as well. They had complicated expressions as they watched Qin Mu walking through the streets of the Jade capital, from the Vermilion Bird Gate to the Gate of Heaven Influence. The Gate of Heaven Influence stood tall, and in front of it was the web-cover Palace Numinous Sky Hall, the grand hall of the emperor that symbolized his absolute authority. Under the gate, Qin Mu stopped, turned around, and bowed to Shu Jun, saying, "Please stay here, Divine King." Shu Jun returned the greeting and stopped beneath the gate. He watched Qin Mu as he climbed the stairs towards the Numinous Sky Hall. After an unknown amount of time, he was in front of the hall. In it, an emperor sat on a throne. Upon his arrival, the emperor stood up. Founding Emperor took off his imperial robes and folded them nicely, placing them on his throne. He then took the crown on his head and placed it on his robes. He lifted the carefree sword on his waist, and with one sound, the carefree sword was drawn from its sheath. With a light tap, the sheath was placed on the hall's pillars. The sword light was bright, and it illuminated the entire hall, which was filled with sword shadows. He watched Qin Mu as he entered, quietly anticipating him. His figure stood there unmoving, just like his Tao heart. Despite the passage of time, his original aspirations hadn't changed. Qin Mu walked to him, smiled, and said, "It has been a long time, Qin Kai." Founding Emperor smiled back. "Mu Qing, it has been a million years. What did you see coming from the Supreme Emperor Heaven?" "I saw the corruption in your celestial heavens." Qin Mu retrieved his sword pellet and shook it. It became a divine sword that resonated in his hands. Qin Mu flicked the pellet, and the sword vibrated relentlessly. He leisurely said, "Your intentions in moving here were good, but only you could persevere in keeping your aspirations. Your old guard couldn't accept defeat and let their Tao hearts fall into pain and bitterness. They can't carry this burden like you. They will only be angry and hate you. They are not you." Founding Emperor nodded and said, "I suppressed any dissent and moved here out of my own volition. The blame is on me." "What else did you see?" Qin Mu said, "I saw that your founding emperor reform failed. People's hearts have collapsed and crumbled. When you decided to move here, the reform had already failed. All you are left with are the superficial things." Founding Emperor nodded. In the Founding Emperor era, serving the people as gods was the country's founding principle. I gave it up, allowing them to have no such duty, causing the reform to fall apart. The blame is on me. "What else did you see?" Qin Mu continued. "I saw that the new generation lacks any spirit of reform. All they do is indulge. They lack bloodthirst and the ability to fight. They can't innovate. A great abyss separates the young and the old. They are not you." Founding Emperor agreed. "The blame is on me. I even saw how our family's bloodline died for your decisions, one generation after another." Qin Mu sighed deeply and continued, "They are not you. They can't become you. All they can do is make up for your mistakes with their lives." Founding Emperor was silent before admitting, "The blame is on me. I even saw how you want to go out, but how you can't, for the only one who can do so is you. Everyone else here can't. They can't walk out of Carefree Village. They are burdened by you, so you can't walk out either." Qin Mu shook his wrists and changed his swords. They pointed at the ground as they drooped. Qin Mu plainly said, "Qin Kai, allow me to break the Carefree Village in your heart." Boom! The web-cover Palace Numinous Sky Hall fell apart. Giant buildings slid down slopes from the top of the stairs, and giant pillars and boulders rolled down as sculptures and paintings were pulverized. On the Numinous Sky stage, Founding Emperor's sword pointed towards the ground as he smiled and said, "Mu Qing, I have been waiting for you for a long time. Please." Qin Mu's pupils contracted as he returned the favor. "You too." As Qin Mu's pupils contracted, the sword in his hand flew out and became the Supreme Emperor Heaven Quelling Sword. That was a sword path that was created after seeing an unjust world where gods and devils fooled around, causing the masses to suffer and be unable to shape their own lives. He quelled the heavens and anything unjust and unfair about it by slaying hypocrites and seductive demons, righting what was wrong. Founding Emperor didn't expect that his first move would be his own first move when entering the sword path. When he entered the sword path, it was during the aftermath of the High Emperor calamity. The Founding Emperor era had yet to arrive, and he was a young brat filled with heroism then. He wielded his sword and made a name for himself in a world filled with monsters and devils. He saw how the primordial realm was distorted by a grand force before being sealed. Heaven soon disappeared, and silence arrived. The primordial realm had shrunk. Despite it still being larger than eternal peace and the great ruins that came after, it was still much smaller than the real primordial realm. What was the grand force that folded and sealed the primordial realm? He saw the ruins of the High Emperor era, the imposingly tall legacies of its celestial heavens, the collapsed temples and palace walls, and the corpses of the gods and devils beneath them. He often thought about the drowned history in those ruins. He even saw people wailing in the flames of war and suffering. There were married couples, women, children, and the elderly. He saw rampant gods and devils, monsters that took advantage of the situation for their own gain. Gods who built grand sacrificial altars to chase away surviving citizens of the High Emperor era. They sacrificed those people on the sacrificial altars to the celestial heavens. He vividly remembered the grin the gods and devils had when they sacrificed the people to the high gods. The Supreme Emperor Heaven-Quelling Sword was born from this. With heroism in his chest, he leveled the world with his sword. That was his earliest move. He hadn't met Qin Mu yet when he pioneered it, for he hadn't yet transmigrated to the first year of the Dragon Han era. The move wasn't as complete as his later moves, could even be considered rough. Yet, it was the most ambitious move of his sword path's 33 heavens. It was the most heroic move. It was unique. The Supreme Emperor Heaven-Quelling Sword was deployed by Qin Mu. It was when he used his sword to be a hero, when he suppressed violence with violence. The youthful heroic sword path came from Qin Mu's sword, and it instantly caused Founding Emperor to recall his past memories. He felt the carefree sword in his hand bringing him back to the past. He deployed the Supreme Emperor Heaven-Quelling Sword too. It was identical to Qin Mu's. When he deployed it, he felt the howling winds that his body swayed in. It was a feeling he had when he was young. Filled with passion, he felt that the power to change the world was in his tiny body. No matter the elements or the setbacks, he felt that he couldn't be beaten. All of the hardships and setbacks pushed him forward as they became the motivation for him to grow stronger. He wanted to protect the people of the land who had suffered so many disasters. He wanted them not to have to fear the gods and devils anymore. He wanted them to live with dignity and not by the skin of gods and devils' teeth. Underneath their swords, Supreme Emperor Heaven's hills crisscrossed as the sword light became a stream that rang and echoed. In the jade capital of the Founding Emperor Celestial Heavens, gods and devils all watched the scene, unable to blink. Qin Mu looked like a youth, while Founding Emperor became a middle-aged man with all the demeanor of an emperor. Yet, what they saw were two youths with swords that had ambition radiating from them. The sword was like a rainbow while Tao was like a painting. With one swing of the sword, mountains and rivers that were thousands of miles long rushed towards them. The sword energy in the mountains and rivers was like a mountain of its own, while the sword light was the shimmer of the lake. Some sword energy was like the rolling clouds, while some sword light fractured the sky in a frightening manner. Their sword light overlapped and exploded intensely, causing many younger gods and devils to flee the inner jade capital. Their sword light crushed the gate of heaven influence. They swept through from the Vermilion Bird Gate to the Black Tortoise Gate, from the Peaceful Prosperity Gate to the Eternal Jubilee Gate, from the Hidden Light Gate to the Peaceful Ceremony Gate, from the Obedience of the Will Gate to the Peaceful Wind Gate, from the Peak Prosperity Gate to the Gate of High Ranks. The sword light flooded out of these gates and crushed them. Halls and buildings crumbled one after another, and the grand and torrential scene in the Supreme Emperor Heaven replaced them. The Taiji Palace, Concubine Palace, and Green Palace were instantly replaced by the Rising Hills. The Merit Cultivation Temple, the Auxiliary of Flourish Temple, the Long-Lasting Joy Temple, and the Grand Peace Temple were all replaced by the lakes. Their sword light suddenly coalesced and rolled around before forming light beams. It was an extremely resplendent scene. Their figures remained still while the flying swords orbited them, their bright bodies shining all sorts of teleportation runes. The runes shone on them from the flying swords, deploying the teleportation divine arts. Their sword light was pushed forward, and they looked like two electrical rainbow lights speeding in the air as they collided above the jade capital. In every collision, the sword light was as bright as the sun. All around them was sword energy, which became straight light beams that beamed downwards. The outer part of the jade capital was hit. Temples like the Peace Temple, the Announcement Temple, the Prosperous Path Temple, the Temple of Opening, and the Imperial Assistance Temple became riddled with holes as sword energy shot through them. Their usage of their sword skills to deploy teleportation divine arts made everyone, even algebra experts like Su Mai-Ching, dazzled as they applauded and praised them. More young gods and devils escaped, but before they could stand up, they saw the figures of Qin Mu and Founding Emperor coming to a halt. A loud boom was heard, and the second sword of the 33 heavens of the sword path was unleashed, the Supreme Brightness Flood Sword. This sword was created when Founding Emperor was quelling the chaos caused by gods and devils. With heroism and bravery, he swore to change the unfair world with the saint. The unfairness of the world wasn't caused by the gods and the devils. It was a mere smokescreen for the true injustice in the heavens. He wanted to change this unfair world with the saint. This sword was genuine and ambitious, and it made the men climb in height as if they were two growing mountains. They went into the sky, into the clouds, and into outer space. Carefree Village's second heaven sun guardian, Yin Rinyuan, couldn't take it anymore. Tears came out of his eyes, and they became two fire dragons. He didn't have tears, for he was a sun guardian whose body became pure holy fire. Even when he was touched to tears, his tears were blazing flames. This sword woke not Founding Emperor but him. He was the one who fought with Founding Emperor to change this unfair world. They were young, filled with energy and passion, and they were daring, loyal, and fearless. Today all he did was complain. In the boiling hot tears of flames, a resonance came from his sword case. A large divine great sun sword hummed as the sheath shook. The rust was washed away as the sword shone again. Above the heavens, sword light burst open and became the third heaven sword path. It was the pure bright sword of stealing hearts, a sword of self-reflection. It shone on one's heart and got people to remember their initial ambitions. At that time, Founding Emperor had made a name in the tattered primordial realm. He forgot his ambition and suffered a great defeat, and many of his followers became casualties. They were buried on hills, as their souls were cut by swords. It was a sword that acted as a reminder. The sword light shone from the heavens in as clear a manner as a heaven of pure brightness. It shone on the faces of everyone in the Founding Emperor celestial heavens. Many saw themselves in that mirror-like sword light. Some saw their own depression, some saw their own hatred, some saw their own bitterness, and some saw their own fall. At that moment they faced their own self and saw a Tao heart riddled with holes. The sword light wasn't just a symbol of the fight between Qin Mu and Founding Emperor. It was also them and their Tao hearts in self-recognition. Junior Protector Feng Yuji wiped his tears, but he couldn't clear them. Qin Mu and Founding Emperor unleashed the fourth heaven of the sword path, the dark embryo sword of calm heavens. It was a sword of rebirth after a calamity. It was the sword of their reformation of ranks, morale, and Tao hearts after heavy casualties. The pioneers of the Founding Emperor era found their fighting spirit reignited after that. They were willing to fight the heavens, gods, and devils. They no longer accepted defeat as they adjusted their dark embryos to fight again. Many of the old guards of the Founding Emperor celestial heaven saw that sword light, that sword path, and that spirit, and it was as if they had returned to that era. The heroic auras in their chests were stirred once more. It had been a long time for them. 20,000 years of their persistence, belief, and hard work all became dreams when they retreated to Carefree Village. It became a moldy memory that grew more and more muddled after 20,000 years spent in Carefree Village. Now everything had awakened. The fifth heaven of the sword path was ignited, and the primordial bright sword of literature was shown. It was shown off in Qin Mu and Founding Emperor's hands. It was a sword skill pioneered when Founding Emperor returned from the first year of the Dragon Han era. He wanted to revolutionize things via reform to create an era with different schools of thought for the younger generations. Then they went on a path of reform. They didn't cultivate literature. They used it to cultivate their hearts. With literature they raised the heavens. With literature they carried the heavens. With literature they recorded things down. They ordained conscience for heaven and earth and served the people by passing down their ultimate arts and opening more. In the sky, Qin Mu and founding emperor continued to battle. Every move and skill of the sword path carried the spirit of the founding emperor era. This spirit was something the old guards of the founding emperor celestial heavens had experienced. It was their spirit and it was the popular symbol of their era. Today, seeing Qin Mu and founding emperor deploy them made them relive that era. Sealed memories were awakened, and dissipated heroism was summoned. Their cold blood boiled hot once again. The founding emperor era was never founding emperors. It belonged to everyone who participated in the reform. The spirit of that era was never founding emperors. It belonged to everyone who participated in the reform. When did they link the era to him alone? When did they link the spirit of the era to him alone? When did they put the blame of moving the founding emperor celestial heavens to Carefree Village on him alone? When did founding emperor become that founding emperor and not the original? In the sky, the battle between Qin Mu and founding emperor grew to become more ferocious. They had already reached the 33rd heaven of the sword path, the Grand Brightness Realm Sword. This sword was created when founding emperor formed the sword realm. He was unrivaled in the path by then. Yet, it was also the time when the founding emperor calamity occurred. The series of events that happened in it all happened after he opened the path of the sword. In the sky, the collision of their large swords became unbelievably terrifying. Yet, they still seemed evenly matched. The Grand Brightness Realm Sword's power had been exhausted. Their sword light stopped for a little bit. At that moment, founding emperor's carefree sword rose again, and Qin Mu experienced a bone-chilling feeling. After the Grand Brightness Realm Sword, there was still a 34th heaven. The Grand Brightness Realm Sword had already reached the Sword Realm, which was different from the previous 33 heavens. The previous 33 heavens of the sword path hadn't gotten rid of the old way of entering the path, while the new sword entered the Sword Realm in a new way similar to the Supreme Consciousness Realm, which was why it was named Sword Realm. However, the Sword Realm was still different from the Supreme Consciousness Realm. The Supreme Consciousness Realm cared more about the effects of consciousness on externalities. Upon entry, everything would gradually become still. It was the highest attainment in visualization. However, founding Emperor Sword Realm focused more on attacking, and was the highest attainment in sword instead. The Grand Brightness Realm Sword was already hard to understand and comprehend for Qin Mu. Yet, on top of this heaven there was another one which gave Qin Mu goosebumps. Finally, founding Emperor unleashed the 34th heaven of the sword path. It was the Upper Clarity Sword Realm. With that blade, the entire founding Emperor celestial heavens nearly boiled. The founding Emperor era's old guards had hot tears in their eyes as their voices morphed into a torrent. They called out Qin Ye's name in unison. Their passion was like a great flood that swept the newer generations of gods and devils of Carefree Village into worshipping founding emperor. Their call was as passionate, crazy, and irrational as the one done by the masters of creation towards the Grand Emperor. Qin Hanjin and his wife frowned as they looked at the irrational crowd. This passion was something they had never seen before, which unnerved them. Yin Yunqi frowned too, for she too was also unnerved. She hadn't seen the Upper Clarity Sword Realm yet. It should be a sword skill that founding emperor pioneered when coming to Carefree Village. However, that wasn't the key. The key was how the old guards and the newer gods and devils saw founding emperor as an omnipotent god. Founding emperor and Qin Mu both used the 33 heavens of the sword path. The old guards were awakened by the spirit within it, as if they had returned to the glory days. However, the situation was more complicated than she anticipated. Qin Yi didn't become founding emperor from the start. He became that era's leader after battling with their enemies. He had too many legendary stories with him, and he became the symbol and backbone of an era. At the end of the founding emperor era, even the old guards saw founding emperor as an omnipotent, ever-present, omniscient being. They wouldn't doubt any of his decisions. This was also why the old guards lost their spirit, and why the founding emperor reform failed after coming to Carefree Village. They had erected a god in their Tao hearts, which was founding emperor. He became their faith. When this image of him fell, so did their faith, causing them to collapse. Now the 33 heavens of the sword path seemed to have returned them to the era where they blindly worshipped Founding Emperor. Yin Yunqi was confused. The idea of making Founding Emperor a god in everyone's hearts wasn't a good idea. Qin Mu used Founding Emperor's 33 heavens of the sword path to revitalize the crumpled Dao hearts of the old guards, which was a good thing. Yin Yunqi even put off the idea of having Qin Mu beat up Founding Emperor. However, Founding Emperor's charisma was too strong. Pinning the spirit on an era would only cause the era to repeat itself. Founding Emperor must lose. Green veins popped out of her forehead as she bit her teeth. She began to miss Woodcutter Wentienga as she thought. If Wentienga was here, he would have found a way to not let this happen. Unfortunately, that B***starred swore to never enter Carefree Village. The Founding Emperor era wasn't an era of a person. The Founding Emperor reform wasn't the reform of Founding Emperor only. Now, as history repeated itself, she found herself helpless. The Upper Clarity Sword realm displayed frightening levels of power, to the point of near invincibility, in front of everyone. Qin Mu fought hard, but it seemed like he couldn't even take a blow. In the blink of an eye, he was covered with injuries. He recognized this sword realm. In the Masters of Creation City in the Great Void, Celestial Venerable Hua left behind his own Great Dao imprint when he faced Founding Emperor. Founding Emperor's sword realm burst forth and forced Celestial Venerable Hua to raise his cultivation level to the peak. Nevertheless, he was still hurt by the Upper Clarity Sword realm. He did everything he could against Founding Emperor's sword realm, deploying all sorts of sword skills, including his Calamity Sword. However, he was still pierced by Founding Emperor's sword in one strike. At that moment, the cheers of the people in Carefree Village peaked as well. The passionate cheering reached the clouds and shook Carefree Village. Founding Emperor clutched the Carefree Sword, his face as calm as always, as nothing could touch his Dao heart. Yet, there was some sorrow flowing from his eyes. At that moment, suddenly yellow sand rolled in. At that moment, the sky was filled with it. The winds howled as if an invisible giant spread a yellow desert across, forming a peculiar sight of a 1,000-mile desert in the sky. Founding Emperor stood in it, raised his sword and looked forward. Toot toot. Above the Founding Emperor celestial heavens, a uniquely loud horn rang as if a war was about to begin. Giants used their vital chi and sounded the horn of war, and the echoing sound brought murderous intent with it. In front of them, the ferocious wind swept up the sands, forming a sandstorm that buried the Founding Emperor celestial heavens. Qin Mu's figure walked out from the dust storm, and countless stars flashed in the sky. Behind him, a primordial tree sprouted and grew at a terrifying speed. It became a towering tree that reached the sun and moon. It reached outer space too. Founding Emperor looked up and saw Heaven Duke, and beneath him was Earth Count. Around him, celestial palaces rose from the desert one after another, and rolling dust spilled out of the celestial palaces. Some of the evil celestial palaces floated in the sky, while some sank into the ground. Old gods guarded the various celestial palaces of this vast celestial heavens. Countless imposing ancient gods and devils were the oldest domain of this land. They once controlled the fate of the masses. As Qin Mu walked, heaven and earth moved with him, pressuring Founding Emperor. Starlight shone on the ancient gods' great Dao runes, which allowed them to reflect colorful light. The light was shone on him as a result. Heaven Duke Xuandu, Earth Counts Yudu, Celestial Empress Sisters Ruins of End, Goddess of Heavenly Yin's Heavenly Yin World, and the four deities of the ancient gods' four extreme heavens all shone their great Dao on him, blessing him. He was like the ancient celestial emperor, high up and with incomparable power to control people's lives. Meanwhile, Founding Emperor, the Founding Emperor era, and the masses of the Founding Emperor celestial heavens were like ants to be casually crushed. He held the strongest power in the world. Founding Emperor ran forward with the Carefree Sword in his hands. He stabbed forward with the 33 heavens of his sword, like a brave warrior who attacked the heavens. Boom boom boom. Southern heavenly gates rose in front of him as he cruised forward with his sword. Every southern heavenly gate that he passed through crushed his body like a celestial palace. He crossed through 14 of them, jumped up and faced Qin Mu's punch. The giant punch had enough power to make people feel helpless as it smashed the 33 heavens of his sword path and his body, smashing him onto the sand. This scene caused the cheering in the founding emperor celestial heavens to stop, and everyone looked at this scene stunned. It didn't matter whether it was the old guards or the new gods and devils. They saw the invincible leader and their hearts get crushed by a punch. Suddenly, founding emperor rose into the air as the carefree sword orbited him, shining countless teleportation runes. It caused his figure to become a teleporting sword light that orbited the vast celestial heavens at a quick pace, moving around the impressive-looking Qin to find flaws. The cheering began again, and the grand wave of sound came one after another. It was the cheer of the people of the founding emperor celestial heavens to encourage founding emperor. Founding emperor used his sword again, and the upper clarity sword realm burst forth once more. Facing it, however, was a giant palm that slammed it against the ground as if it was swatting a fly. The cheering stopped again. Founding emperor stood up shakily. Blood seeped out of his mouth as he looked up at the impressive torso towering over his celestial heavens. He howled again and rushed forward with his sword to fight. Boom! He was swatted on the ground again. It was more serious this time as his limbs became like jelly. He struggled to get up, but he failed and crawled on the ground. Finally, he climbed up and saw the incoming fist. He barely raised his carefree sword. Boom! He was smashed into the desert again, and his body rolled like a tattered sack. He carried sand waves with him. Qin struck again and again. The masses of the founding emperor celestial heavens looked at the sight dumbfounded. Qin punches weren't on founding emperor but on them, on their worship and their pride. You want to reform? Qin voice was like that of the gods of the 9 heavens above. It was high up and cold. He said, "You want to change this world? By yourself? You alone? What a joke." Boom! He lifted his leg and crushed founding emperor beneath it harshly as he laughed. The so-called founding emperor era never existed. Only you persisted. Who did you rely on? What Dao friends do you have? All you have are a bunch of slaves who depended on you. They aren't your Dao friends, just slaves that worship you. Why don't you collude with them? Why don't you become a celestial venerable Qin that smiles towards everyone and is kind to everyone? Why do you still lift your head? Qin stepped on him again, hollering, "Why do you still climb up?" Founding emperor held his feet and kneeled on the ground shakily as he tried to stand up. "Stand down!" a young god cried. "Emperor, please don't climb up. Admit defeat." Qin activated his leg again and smashed founding emperor in the dust. He ferociously said, "You don't owe anyone. You didn't let anyone down. If you continue kneeling, you are still celestial venerable Qin, not traitor thief Qin, not the founding emperor that people in Carefree Village worship. Stay down and be celestial venerable Qin." He lifted his foot, and founding emperor lay in his footprint. Qin extended 2 fingers and squeezed him like a small ant. He looked down and laughed. "These are your Dao friends? These people are the main driving force of your reform? They are just a bunch of pitiful bugs. Qin, surrender. These people aren't worth your life. Take off your clothes, come to the celestial heavens, kneel down, and confess to the 10 celestial venerables. You are still high up. As celestial venerable Qin, countless people still worship and revere you." At that moment, Qin felt an endless amount of blazing flames. At the founding emperor celestial heavens below, a member of the old guard took off his clothes and raised 2 giant hammers, smashing the battle drums at the southern heavenly gate of the founding emperor celestial heaven's southern heavenly gate. The rumbling of the drums became a thick battle song. The blazing west wind. Feng Yuji took off his shirt and his hat and spread his shoulders as he raised his own coffin. He tapped on it and sang, "The blazing west wind." The wild goose cried in the frost for the tattered moon in the sky. Yin Yunxi pulled out her sword, and it resonated crisply. The tattered moon in the sky. The hoof sound shattered while the horn was sounded. The path ahead is as tough as steel. From the bodies of founding emperor's old guards, wave after wave of the energy that they had in the disastrous period burst forth. It was like a long rainbow. Their sound wasn't a cheer of worship, and their Dao hearts no longer placed all of their hopes on founding emperor's twisted Dao heart. Their voices became low but were filled with penetrating power as they displayed that glorious era's hardship and hope to Carefree Village's new generation, shocking them. The path ahead is as tough as steel, and today we trudge forward again. Today we trudge forward again, trudge forward again. The rumbles of drums shook the entire universe. It was as though they were trying to use the sounds of the drums to wake Carefree Village, waking up the older generation who bemoaned their fates and grumbled against the heavens, waking up the younger generation who indulged themselves in a blissful and mesmerizing state, not wanting to improve themselves in a life of luxury. Qin Mu wasn't only battling Founding Emperor, but the decaying spirit of the Founding Emperor era. In the eyes of the people, Qin Mu wasn't Qin Mu anymore. Instead, he represented the celestial heavens and its authority that they swore to resist. What they saw when Founding Emperor was getting pummeled in Qin Mu's realm was that their leader had fallen at the iron heels of the celestial heavens, under the iron fists of the gods of the celestial heavens. In Qin Mu's realm, the faces of the gods and devils had turned into sinister smiles, mocking the people of the Founding Emperor era for overestimating their abilities, mocking the fact that Founding Emperor's resilience and sacrifices weren't able to rouse the ignorant people of this era. The celestial heavens that Qin Mu represented were mocking them, mocking that they were originally the allies of Founding Emperor and his Tao friends but had now turned into pitiful worms and parasites that relied on him to turn the tide. They had turned into bystanders who would only wave their flags and cheer Founding Emperor on from the sidelines. They had become fearful and grief-stricken protected people after the defeat of Founding Emperor. Qin Mu was sitting up high in a leading position, mocking them with his cold eyes, saying that they weren't fit to be Founding Emperor's Tao friends. However, this wasn't right. For the older generation during that era, they were favored and privileged people with boundless heroic spirit. They were men of great ambition that aspired to change the world, daring to resist the celestial heavens and injustice. Since the beginning, they weren't subjects of Founding Emperor. Instead, they and Founding Emperor were friends on the same path. It was only because he had more guts, perseverance, and resourcefulness that they elected him as Founding Emperor. It wasn't that they needed his protection. The Founding Emperor era wasn't just the era of Founding Emperor, it was the era of them all. As the war drums rang and the thunder rumbled, the blood in the hearts of these men from that era 20,000 years ago started to stir, reigniting once again. Among the drumbeats, the spirit of that era looked as though it had been given a new lease of life, sprouting in the hearts of everyone, growing and strengthening again. The reform of the Founding Emperor era was supposed to be the reform of everyone in that era. It lost its essence when hopes were placed solely on one man. When everyone was isolated in their own world and pinned their hopes on a leader to change everything, the reform lost its base. When their righteous passion began to cool, they lost their spirits and could only grumble at heaven and earth. When the subsequent generations grew up in such an atmosphere, how could they be expected to have the fighting spirit of their forefathers? How were they able to inherit the spirit of reform from the Founding Emperor era? It wasn't strange that when they were unable to expand or realize their ambitions that they led a decadent and dissolute life. Normally, if one wasn't making any headway in their endeavors, they could leave and seek their fortune elsewhere. However, because this was Carefree Village, they were unable to leave and could only live a wanton life. Now, the spirit from that era 20,000 years ago was woken from its slumber. Some had already woken up and would use their spirit to energize the heaven and earth, rousing even more people in order to reignite the reform of the Founding Emperor era. It wasn't too late, they could still make a comeback. Today, they were taking the first step forward from the starting point. Within the drumbeats, Qin Mu could feel the fighting spirit from 20,000 years ago. That dauntless and indomitable spirit, that aura that dared to spill blood in the celestial heavens for the sake of all. Those lofty aspirations that aimed to smash through restraints and injustice. This spirit was similar to what eternal peace had. But there were some differences as well. However, what these differences were, Qin Mu couldn't identify in a short span of time. He relaxed his fist and Founding Emperor fell from between his fingers, looking like a lump of mushy flesh as he tumbled into the yellow sand. Qin Mu's giant face appeared in the sky as though it was pasted on top of the ruined Founding Emperor celestial heavens. His voice boomed like thunder as it rang in everyone's ears. Are you going to rebel? His roar shook the sky and the earth trembled. The force of the roar conjured a violent gust that engulfed the Founding Emperor's celestial heavens. An old man with a head full of pale white hair revealed his strong upper body and carried with him a steel knife. He thumped his chest and shouted, "So what if we are rebelling? One by one, their voices erupted, overpowering Qin Mu's voice. Rebel! Let's reorganize and rally our forces to attack the extraterritorial celestial heavens. I'm unable to stay in this carefree village any longer. I want to barge my way out of this cage so that I can fight again. Qin Mu's face darkened as he shouted, "How dare you!" When he was about to speak, Princess Consort Zhen pulled him back as she whispered, "Mu'er, that's enough. Stop talking." Yin Yunxi flew over and waved her hand. Thick clouds appeared in the sky, covering their figures. The clouds overlapped one another, gradually covering the founding emperor celestial heavens. Within the clouds, Princess Consort Zhen grabbed Qin Mu and descended. Yin Yunxi was by her side, providing protection. She looked around nervously as she spoke quickly. "You can stir the hearts of people, but emotions are running high. If you continue speaking, those crazed fellows might be tipped over, thinking that you're the celestial venerable of the extraterritorial celestial heavens and end up killing you." Qin Mu got a fright. He muttered, "Surely things won't deteriorate to such a state?" Yin Yunxi smiled coldly. "You have beaten up founding emperor badly and thought of yourself as the celestial heavens. You are now the manifestation of the extraterritorial celestial heavens. At this moment, some people can differentiate clearly between you and the celestial heavens, but some are unable to do so. Under the fervor of the crowd, killing you is something expected. They hate you to the core." Qin Mu humbly said, "I have also been beaten up badly by founding emperor. His 34th heaven sword skill pierced through me." Yin Yunxi laughed coldly. Qin Mu looked at Princess Consort Zhen. "Mom, don't you think so?" Princess Consort Zhen helplessly nodded her head. It seems that founding emperor didn't hold back and injured Mu'er severely. At this moment, Qin Hanjin's voice traveled over, whispering, "Quite a number lost their minds and charged towards the skies. Apparently, they want to kill you to expend the vigorous energy in their bodies. I will go find founding emperor and request that he calm down the emotional crowd. It looks like he has to appear this time around." He then left in a hurry. Princess Consort Zhen and Yin Yunxi brought Qin Mu to hide from place to place, so he wouldn't reveal himself. Now, the emotions of the people of Carefree Village were roused, and they needed an outlet to vent on while their rationality had been suppressed. Qin Mu was already treated as a representation of the celestial heavens. If he was discovered, he would be dead. "We can't stay in the celestial heavens anymore. Let's leave." Princess Consort Zhen and Yin Yunxi swiftly brought him out of the founding emperor celestial heavens. Qin Mu heard the heavy voice of founding emperor coming from the celestial heavens. It seemed that he was encouraging the people of Carefree Village to walk out, continue to fight, and carry on their reform. However, Princess Consort Zhen and Yin Yunxi were leading him further and further away. Eventually, he was unable to clearly hear what founding emperor was saying. They arrived at the peaceful education heaven, and Princess Consort Zhen led them towards the King Zhan residence. When Qin Mu saw the King Zhan residence from afar, he shook his head. "I have already fought founding emperor. I'm not going in and will be sitting here. Heavenly teacher Zixi, may I trouble you to bring divine King Shu Jun out?" Princess Consort Zhen was stunned but didn't say anything. Yin Yunxi immediately left, returning to the founding emperor celestial heavens to look for divine King Shu Jun. Time gradually passed. As for what happened in the founding emperor celestial heavens, Qin Mu wasn't aware, and there was no need for him to know. What he knew was today Carefree Village was revived. The people of Carefree Village wouldn't continue to be entranced in a blissful and mesmerizing dream state. They would try walking out. Also, the race of masters of creation wouldn't continue walking down the same path and seclude themselves. They would also walk out. He looked at the graves of the Qin family ancestors and saw the mist rising, permeating the graveyard. There was a sense of peace in his heart. He longed to revive his ancestors, making them reappear in this world. However, this wasn't the outside world. Here, he was unable to borrow the power of Heaven Duke and Earth Count. Also, without their corporeal bodies, he was unable to bring them back to life. He sat quietly, yearning to communicate with them. However, their consciousnesses had already dissipated. After all, they weren't masters of creation. What else could one say when they were dead? After all, they were just bodies deposited in the mountains. They died worthy deaths, and that was enough. After an unknown amount of time, Founding Emperor walked over with Qin Hanjin behind him. Xu Jun and Yin Yunqi were at their sides. Qin Mu stood up and dusted the mud off his bottom. He said, "I'm afraid that I'm unable to stay in Carefree Village any longer. The people don't welcome me. I suppose it's time for me to leave. After all, I'm not someone from Carefree Village. I'm the holy infant of the Masters of Creation." Qin Hanjin and Princess Consort Zhan's faces revealed complex emotions. Qin Mu had already offended the entirety of Carefree Village. Not only was he unable to remain in the Qin family register, staying in Carefree Village wasn't possible anymore. Founding Emperor said, "Let me send you off." Qin Mu nodded as he stepped onto the void, walking off towards the horizon. Founding Emperor walked with him shoulder to shoulder, while Xu Jun followed a few steps behind, not too closely. His keen senses felt that there was something strange about the two, so he didn't want to be near them. As they walked to the horizon, Qin Mu turned and looked back. Qin Hanjin and his wife were nowhere to be seen. The Masters of Creation beyond the skies had also retreated, leaving the starry sky outside Carefree Village empty. "Qin Kai, did I hit you too hard?" Qin Mu asked with concern. Upon hearing the words Qin Kai, Founding Emperor's left eyebrow gently arched. He replied, "It was hard, but I was able to endure it. You have coarse skin and a thick body. Of course, you were able to endure it." Qin Mu laughed and said, "Don't you want to know who is stronger between the two of us?" Founding Emperor said calmly, "We should be evenly matched." Qin Mu gave a gentle laugh and said, "I think so as well. Let's part ways here. You have many tasks waiting for you in Carefree Village." Founding Emperor nodded and stopped walking. Qin Mu walked towards the Masters of Creation's territory. Xu Jun wanted to follow, but suddenly he stopped involuntarily. Founding Emperor took out the Carefree sword and said gently, "Dao friend Mu Qing, are you at the God Realm?" Qin Mu stopped walking. He turned his head and laughed. "Yes. In that case, you must have extremely vigorous vital qi, stronger than mine." Founding Emperor gripped the Carefree sword tightly and said in a leisurely tone, "In terms of divine arts, I shouldn't be able to match up to you. The number of runes of great Tao that you are proficient in is greater than me, and you are able to form a realm. Solely by magic power, you could crush me already." Qin Mu turned around with an unexpected sword pellet in hand. It gradually transformed into a divine sword, its sword light slowly swirling. He laughed. "Yes, indeed," Founding Emperor said. "But a real exchange of blows cannot just consist of divine arts or sword techniques. Is your eternal pieces reform up to it?" Qin Mu's face was full of smiles. "Won't you know once you've tried it? If you don't, how will you know whether my eternal pieces reform is much stronger than your Founding Emperor's reform?" Xu Jun quietly stepped back as cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Founding Emperor revealed a smile. The force in his legs exploded as his sword realm expanded rapidly. His sword Dao instantly reached its peak. He smiled as he said, "Mu Qing, have you seen the 20th sword form before?" Boom! Incomparably bright radiance exploded as Qin Mu executed his divine treasure realm. His Taiji diagram spun and expanded as the sun, moon, and galaxies rose from his body. The divine sword in his hand was growing rapidly. "I have been waiting for this. Let me experience your sword realm and 20th sword form." The light rays in the hands of the two men clashed. At that instant, Xu Jun's eyes felt pain. He couldn't help but tear up. He saw a blur in front of him and could only feel the trembles of perfected sword Dao piercing through the void. His skin felt as though it was pierced by thousands of swords, penetrating his body, soul, and consciousness. He was extremely fearful. Soon, the light given off by the sword Dao dissipated. Qin Mu was grabbing his chest as he turned to leave. Founding Emperor retracted his sword. There was fresh blood dripping from it. "Xu Jun, go." Qin Mu's voice felt weak. "I am unable to move. Carry me back." Xu Jun quickly stepped forward, a sense of astonishment in his heart as he glanced at Founding Emperor. Founding Emperor looked upset and disappointed, watching them as they left. His sword realm was above Qin Mu's, and his 20th sword form didn't disappoint. It penetrated Qin Mu's divine treasure realm, breaking through his sword techniques. However, a spectacular sword light flew past alongside his divine bridge divine treasure, looking graceful and dazzling. Qin Mu's facing calamity sword didn't cut through his divine bridge but merely grazed it, causing him to break into a cold sweat. If that slash had ended up breaking his divine bridge, his celestial palace would have crumbled and disintegrated, crushing all 6 of his great divine treasures and destroying his cultivation completely. He didn't know if Qin Mu didn't have the strength to execute that slash properly, or if he was showing mercy. Then, Founding Emperor swung his sword back into the sheath as he turned back towards Carefree Village. I need to check out the reform of eternal peace. The 20th sword form is indeed powerful. Shu Jun put Qin Mu down from his back. Qin Mu extended his body before jumping up energetically. Amazing Shu Jun. Just now, Qin Mu's injuries were serious. Founding Emperor's 20th sword form severely injured him, causing Shu Jun to believe that his soul was going to return to the ancestor spirit world. Qin Mu had suffered a serious sword injury. The most severe injury he sustained wasn't to his corporeal body but to his spirit embryo divine treasure and celestial palaces, as they were attacked by Founding Emperor's 20th sword form Sword Realm. Strangely enough, despite Qin Mu's serious injury, he recovered quickly. Shu Jun even suspected him of faking his injury. As expected of the number 1 in the sword path, his comprehension of the sword is deeper than most. The 20th sword form is even stronger than the 19th sword form. Raising Calamity. Qin Mu retrieved a sword pellet and waved it around, trying to recreate the 20th sword form. It was fundamentally different than the previous 19 sword forms. Qin Mu felt something when comprehending the 18th sword form. When one's basic sword skills grew to be more advanced, the amount of magic power one needed would increase. Ultimately, the sword skill would become unacceptable to use, as one might use all of their magic power in one use of the sword skill. Such signs emerged in his 18th sword form. His cultivation was deeper and stronger than his counterparts. Even the Grand Founding Emperor paled in comparison to him in the same realm. That was why it was easy for him to use the 18th sword form. If it was someone else, however, using the 18th sword form would require a typical divine arts practitioner's entire magic power pool. The 19th sword form, Raising Calamity, required even more magic power, on top of high attainments in algebra formations and in one's state of mind. To attain the 19th sword form's sword skill, one had to go through vigorous training. Thus, when one learned it, they could directly enter the path with the sword. Fewer and fewer people knew the move in the world as time went on. As a result, even if one learned it, they might not be able to handle the magic power it required. In the full-on duel between Qin Mu and Founding Emperor, Qin Mu was able to observe the even freakishly higher demands of Founding Emperor's 20th sword form. Using this blade seems to require one to inject their soul into it on top of burning their essence and blood and cooperating with the sword realm. Qin Mu frowned greatly. He was unlikely to deploy the 20th sword form in such a short period of time, as he was still unable to comprehend his own sword realm. His Facing Calamity sword wasn't a basic move. It was a move to cleave divine treasures and celestial palaces. It was a sword path open to break the old systems, aimed at severing one's cultivation. Then Qin Mu had lost his soul and only had his consciousness left. He used the Facing Calamity sword to sever his own cultivation. He began by destroying his own celestial palace. The sword light created a torrent that severed the divine bridge after collapsing the celestial palace, destroying the celestial being, 5 elements, 6 directions, and life and death divine treasures. He only kept his spirit embryo. Later on, he used this move to cleave other gods' and devils' celestial palaces and divine treasures. However, this move wasn't a basic sword skill. When Founding Emperor fought him in the same realm, he used his magic power from the god realm. Qin Mu used his divine treasure realm's immense magic power to suppress him, but he was still injured by the 20th sword form, showing how terrifying it was after it was matched with the sword realm. Using it allowed a weaker person to beat a stronger one. He was, however, disappointed by his inability to learn it. I am the overlord body, I just have to work harder. His spirits felt rejuvenated as he walked towards the Masters of Creation's territory with Shu Jun. Amongst the Masters of Creation, many adults were led by Xiuzhong and other chiefs to help the son of Yudu, Qin Fengqing, open the Permitha world's Yudu. The only people left were younglings and elders. It was the same for other clans. The Permitha Yudu was vital to the Masters of Creation. which was why Divine King Lang ordered every clan to help Qin Fengqing build it. Qin Mu tried to open the gate of heaven influence and found that it actually opened. He looked inside and saw countless imposing masters of creation walking around in the vast void. The heart of their brows glowed, and they were creating via grand primordium divine stones using consciousness. Qin Fengqing, who was in the center of the Permitha Yudu, wasn't smaller than them. In fact, he was bigger. The great Yudu Das inside of him spread out, infused with the masters of creation's consciousness, as they worked together to imprint his great Tao in the void. Don't open the door. Don't open the door. Divine King Lang saw Qin Mu opening the door and hastily used her consciousness to transmit her voice into Qin Mu's head. She said, "You can't open the door yet, as it will cause the Permitha Yudu's great Tao and consciousness to leak, disrupting the Permitha." Qin Mu's figure moved as he entered the Permitha Yudu and closed the gate of heaven influence. He looked down and around and saw landmasses clearly taking shape in the Permitha world. He could even clearly see stars and the 33 heavens of Carefree Village. The Permitha Yudu and Permitha world were stacked on top of one another. This Permitha Yudu that the masters of creation and Qin Fengqing built together could reach every corner of the Permitha world. With continuous development, they could even extend it to the Great Void. Qin Fengqing wanted to be a little Earth Count with his own realm for a long time so he could take care of his mother. Now, he had more than a little realm. He had a large one. Now, he could not only take care of his own mother but everyone in Carefree Village. He could even take care of all the masters of creation in the Great Void and Permitha world to prevent the former from being so dangerous. Bad brother. Qin Fengqing found Qin Mu and excitedly said, "You're here. It's not fun here. All I can do is look at these big guys. I can't eat them yet." The masters of creation around him were visibly pissed. They wanted to punch him but couldn't. Qin Mu flew towards him, but because he was slow, Qin Fengqing extended his hand, which Qin Mu landed on. Qin Fengqing retracted his hand, and Qin Mu arrived in front of him. He floated around him as if he was a dust particle. "There will be more things for you to eat in the future. However, you can't eat the people in Carefree Village, or the masters of creation whenever you like." Qin Mu patiently said, "The celestial heavens will come here to find Carefree Village. Outside of the Great Void, countless casualties will be inflicted to the point that you won't be able to finish eating them. You can even keep some for barren years." Qin Fengqing was very happy, and he rubbed his hands. "How can we deal with that? If we store them, won't it be tough on them? I'll suffer for a bit and eat them regardless. I'll just exercise and digest more." Qin Mu shook his head and said, "There are so many strong practitioners in the celestial heavens. How can you finish them? Besides, if a war is fought, there will be even more casualties. Towards the people of Carefree Village and the masters of creation, you must set up a system that punishes evil and rewards good. You can eat the bad ones while the good ones stay." "That sounds even better," Qin Fengqing righteously said. "I get to eat even more." Veins popped out of Qin Mu's forehead as he repeated, "Punish only the bad and reward the good." Qin Fengqing asked, "What does that mean?" Qin Mu calmed himself down and explained, "We keep them behind so that food can last forever." Qin Fengqing suddenly had a eureka moment. He laughed and said, "That's a good idea. Even good people do bad things sometimes. Good idea, good idea. If good people do bad things, we lick them, and if bad people do bad things, we eat them." The masters of creation around them had cold sweat rolling down their foreheads and backs. It wasn't clear whether they were too tired or scared. Qin Mu sighed secretly, thinking, "Brother is too careless about things like rules, as he acts according to his feelings. However, the gods in the founding Emperor Celestial Heavens are good at it. They will surely create rules to restrain brother and prevent him from being too wild." Even Divine King Lang was worried, feeling that they were too unreliable. Qin Mu gave her a reliable feeling, but after hearing his conversation with Qin Fengqing, he was clearly unreliable too. "Sister Divine King, can you break through to the Great Void and get the Permitha Yudu to cover it?" Qin Mu asked. Divine King Lang shook her head and said, "It's hard to do everything at once. It will take a long time. However, if the celestial heavens attack us, they might be able to enter the Permitha Yudu, which is a big problem." Thus, I feel like we can open the passage to Yudu at the three houses to ensure we have a checkpoint to defend against the celestial heavens. Qinmu praised her. How detailed of you, sister. Divine King Langwa smiled and asked, how was it between you and Founding Emperor? We fought already. He wanted a best of 5 while I wanted a best of 10. We couldn't agree on the format. Qinmu thought about it and said, if we are in the same realm, my chance of winning is 70%. However, if he learns the results of Eternal Peace's reform, it will be less clear. Maybe I'll only have a 40% or 50% chance of winning. At best, he will have a small edge over me. He has his own niche, and it'll be difficult to beat him there as well. Divine King Langwa curiously observed him before smiling and saying, after all that you've said, do you really not want to stay here? Qinmu nodded and said, I plan to set sail back to the Dragon Han Celestial Heavens. I have settled things here. The Masters of Creation and Carefree Village are now at peace, and Founding Emperor will handle things in Carefree Village. After the Permithayudu is built, a collapse will be impossible here, so I'm no longer needed here. The outside world is more vast and interesting. Divine King Langwa blinked and said, I want to go out too, to the ancestral court. Qinmu hastily said, don't go out. If you do, big trouble will occur. There's nothing much to see in the celestial heavens. There really isn't. Divine King Langwa curiously asked, I didn't cause any big trouble here, why would I do so if I leave? Qinmu was stuck. He didn't know how to explain it to her. How much chaos would there be if Celestial Empress and Mistress Yuanmu saw another Ju Wuchen there? After all, the beauty of Divine King Langwa was, in itself, a weapon that would affect many people's Dao hearts and stir chaos. After all, her beauty and elegance were superior to even that of Yun Chuxiu. Even though they looked similar, Yun Chuxiu already gave an artificial feeling, while Divine King Langwa was more natural and attractive. In addition, the ancient Celestial Emperor was still alive. If he saw Divine King Langwa, what would occur? Qinmu couldn't imagine it. Divine King Langwa plainly said, we have to head out. This is your duty too. Holy Infant, am I supposed to be locked here while everyone else leaves the Permitha world? Qinmu couldn't make a decision. Qin Fengqin curiously looked at them. His huge face was almost on their bodies as his eyeballs rolled around. Sometimes it was on Qinmu while the other times it was on Divine King Langwa. He looked at Qinmu's expression of hesitation and found it interesting. His brother was a decisive person, yet he was being overly cautious now. Bad brother is shy. Qin Fengqin laughed out loud. Qinmu blushed and disputed him, shouting, no, brother, don't talk nonsense. Divine King Langwa didn't understand them and continued to look at Qinmu. Qinmu clenched his teeth and said, you can follow me, but you have to listen to me. You cannot reveal your identity as a master of creation, and you must act like a normal person. You have to cover the eye and the heart of your brows too. Divine King Langwa nodded and gently said, sure. Qinmu's heart fluttered, but he hastily calmed himself down to avoid being mocked by Qin Fengqin again. He said, I have a willow leaf here that I can place on your forehead. I used it to seal my brother in the past. He retrieved a golden willow leaf, and Divine King Langwa closed her eyes and waited for him to place it at the heart of her brows. Qinmu's heart fluttered again when he saw the scene. Shy. Qin Fengqin laughed. Qinmu was heavily embarrassed, as he felt that he had fallen to seduction. If Fatty Dragon were here, he would have said something to keep me alert so I wouldn't be mesmerized by her beauty. Divine King Langwa had no other thoughts except visualizing a mirror to size up the willow leaf at the heart of her brows to see if Qinmu got it right. This willow leaf looked good, which made her happy. After all, it was forged by the elders of disabled elderly village. Although they were weaker than her, they were masters at skills such as forging and painting, which made the willow leaf beautiful. After all, Earth Count and Heaven Duke sacrificed to it, which made it extraordinary. She felt a unique bearing with it at the heart of her brows. Qinmu looked at her crown and felt hesitant. It was a grand symbol of the Divine King. The jewelry on it was unbelievably expensive. If she wore it, she would attract attention. However, such a pretty lady will attract attention no matter what. He gave up on the idea of having Divine King Langwa take off her crown, thinking, it's pretty good looking. It's fine as long as she doesn't look like a master of creation. There exists a deep hatred between them and the ancient gods. I need to be careful. After all, a lot of the ancient gods secretly support me. If her identity is exposed, there will be a lot of unnecessary trouble. Divine King Shujun called the various chiefs and gave them orders. Qinmu looked for Shujun and said, "Divine King, I'm returning to the celestial heavens. Do you want to go with me?" Shujun hesitated and replied, "Sure." Qinmu was slightly annoyed. He asked, "Didn't you say you wanted to find your people? Now that you've found them, why do you want to return to the celestial heavens? It's dangerous there. It would be better if you stayed here. You can learn knowledge from the founding emperor, reform in Carefree Village, and work hard so that you can open the divine treasures in Celestial Palace earlier. You asked me whether I wanted to go with you, yet you want me to stay. You are two-faced and double-dealing." Shujun complained. "There's nothing much to learn in Carefree Village. Their cultivation methods aren't as good as yours. All I can learn are some paths, skills, and divine arts, so I'm not staying here. Don't forget about how you still owe me, a hidden master of creation in the celestial heavens." Qinmu mumbled, "I was thinking for you. After all, I brought so many people into the great void except you. If you follow me back, people will gossip about your origins after seeing your large head." Shujun laughed out of anger as he asked, "What about Divine King Langhua? Will people not ask about her? Don't try to get rid of me before our deal is completed." Qinmu couldn't say anything before he suddenly realized, "I want Shujun to follow me so I won't be tempted by Divine King Langhua, which is why I asked him that question. Yet, I don't want Shujun with me, which is why I want him to stay. D**a minute, D**a minute, I need Fatty Dragon." They immediately set sail. After a few days, they arrived at the landmass where the three houses were and climbed to the peak. They were in front of them again. I wonder whether Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su escaped from these houses, Qinmu thought. Divine King Langhua opened the middle door and explained, "Opening the door here requires none of the steps needed outside. Once we enter, we will reach the Void Bridge." Qinmu and Shujun entered but found themselves at the edge of the Void Bridge and not in a room. They were standing in the center of the middle house's door. The Void Bridge was tattered as the light lingered. Qinmu frowned. It wasn't easy to cross it. He had worked with Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su to arrive safely with the Permitha Arc. They were unable to traverse the bridge, even with Divine King Langhua's power. At that moment, a terrifying wave came from the middle room. Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su's figures came out of the wall's painting. The two great Celestial Venerables had escaped the life and death cycle in the world of the painting. Qinmu didn't hesitate to close the door before they landed, opening it again immediately after. The door no longer linked to Celestial Venerable Su and Celestial Venerable Hua, but a vast palace. In his hurry, Qinmu didn't see where the world was. He quickly hollered, "Enter now!" Divine King Langhua hastily said, "Using a different order, we can go to different places. I know of a safe place." "It's too late." Qinmu pulled her hand in without further explanation. Shujun entered as well. The door was opened, and Celestial Venerable Su's horns rose like flames. They were curved like the river of hellish flames in Yudu. She was scarred with injuries. As she looked around, she saw the Void Bridge's light being tattered as the void currents around her collapsed. Qinmu and the others were missing too. She gave a cold humph and turned around. Celestial Venerable Hua came out of the room and looked straight at her. He was scarred with injuries too. They were heavy injuries that he couldn't heal from easily. Their 5 eyes looked at each other. The heart of Celestial Venerable Su's brows had another eye as well, like Earth Count's 3rd eye. They looked away soon. Their injuries were caused by each other. When they crossed the bridge, they entered the middle room before Qinmu and landed in the reincarnating world left behind by the Masters of Creation. They fell into the cycle as Celestial Venerable Su reincarnated into a divine king with millions of gods and devils at her command. Celestial Venerable Hua reincarnated into a divine king too. Their nations had bad blood between them, so they led their armies against one another, causing heavy casualties. The scariest thing about the reincarnating world was how, when one fell for it, the strong consciousness of the Masters of Creation would alter their memory. Even Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su had their memories altered. Their altered memories were filled with hatred towards one another, causing them to fight and destroy. When Founding Emperor came here, he also fell for it, only getting out via his own Tao heart. However, Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su were luckier. After all, they were Celestial Venerables, so when they fought, the power unleashed was more than the world could handle. The two of them found the army following them frozen as a result. Even their citizens and beasts were frozen. The peculiar things were the flying birds that were stuck in the sky with their wings out, and a leaping leopard that stayed in the air without landing. Even the drops of water of a still waterfall stayed in place. Even more peculiar was how when they stopped fighting, the world went back to normal, but in a strange way. The gods and devils following them teleported weirdly. Some of them even had their torsos separated. Yet they fought on. They saw an even more peculiar scene in which birds had their wings flying away alone while their bodies remained on the ground. It was horrifying yet comedic. At that point, they knew that the world was fake, and that the masters of creation had altered their memories. They didn't know who they were, so they sought a way out together. They couldn't find a way, so they decided to fight and utterly crush this peculiar world. It was during that battle that the two Celestial Venerables suffered severe injuries. However, they managed to escape. The moment that they escaped, they instantly recovered their memories. However, before they could leave the room, they saw Qinmu closing the door, which gave them chills. The good thing was that they were able to leave the room after opening the door. However, Qinmu and his entourage were missing. Could Celestial Venerable Mu have entered Carefree Village while we were stuck? Celestial Venerable Su plainly asked. He had a guy and a lady with him, but before we entered, he only had Luo Wushuang with him. Where did the other people come from? Celestial Venerable Hua shook his head. I don't know, only he knows. He must have entered the room. Their gazes fell on the three houses and their eyes jumped. These houses terrified them, and they were unwilling to enter again. The power of the Masters of Creation may not exceed theirs, but such a method of attack was something they couldn't defend against. Celestial Venerable Su frowned and said, with our power alone, we are unlikely to find Carefree Village. Since you met Founding Emperor here, Carefree Village must be here. Now the question is, how do we go back? Suddenly, Celestial Venerable Hua's heart fluttered as he closed and opened the door. Another world appeared. It was a dark world filled with a chaotic devil voice. A giant devil eye appeared deep in the darkness. It was extremely big and it turned to look at them. Celestial Venerable Hua's eyes jumped, and he was about to close the door. Celestial Venerable Su, however, pushed his palm away and entered the room, plainly saying, Celestial Venerable Su of the Celestial Heavens, here to pay respects to Earth Count. Celestial Venerable Hua hesitated before entering. The door behind them closed. On the other side, Qinmu stepped on firm ground for a while before seeing greenery everywhere in front of him. A crystal clear lake appeared in front of him. Qinmu's eyes jumped. Something was wrong. He quickly turned around to return to the void bridge, but the door shut itself. Cold sweat came from Qinmu's forehead. At that moment, melodious laughter appeared. I have heard that Celestial Venerable Mu lacks any sense of propriety, and likes to peep on Celestial Emperor's concubines when they bathe. I didn't believe it, yet here you are. Qinmu turned around and saw an imperial consort wearing large red clothes that didn't cover her shoulders. She was walking towards him. Her hair bun was tall, and part of her breasts were exposed. She wore gilded wing shoes with a high sole about 4 inches tall, that made a clicking sound when she walked. Qinmu's heart fluttered. This lady was Heavenly Lady Chang, Celestial Venerable Chang of the 10 Celestial Venerables. He once suspected her of being Celestial Empress or Mistress Yuanmu. Behind her, sashes slithered on the ground as her eyes lit up. Her gaze first fell on Qinmu before being attracted by Divine King Langhua. She looked at her and found herself unable to move her gaze. Divine King Langhua was puzzled by her stare, so she took out a mirror to examine herself. She found no differences from usual. Ju Wuchen. Heavenly Lady Chang was dazed. She shouted, "You dare to appear, Ju Wuchen? Celestial Venerable Chang isn't Mistress Yuanmu or Celestial Empress. Mistress Yuanmu was Ju Wuchen, and Celestial Empress knew about that. If Heavenly Lady Chang was one of them, she wouldn't have said that." Qinmu was stunned. So who could Heavenly Lady Chang be? Could it be? A ludicrous idea appeared in his heart. Divine King Langwa was frustrated. Why does everyone say I'm Ju Wuchen? After all, she was the Masters of Creation's divine king, and had little contact with the outside world. However, as the only divine king of the Masters of Creation and a being on par with founding emperor, she was cunning and deep. Although she was frustrated, she never said it. As soon as Heavenly Lady Chang spoke, she knew she shouldn't have, as it revealed a lot of information about her. She shut up and fell into silence. Qin Mu was stunned and waves flooded his brain. He also went silent. Only the select few who participated in the ambush to kill the ancient Celestial Emperor, such as the Heaven Alliance leaders and Celestial Emperor himself, knew about Ju Wuchen. Back then, the Heaven Alliance wanted to work together to deal with Celestial Emperor, which led to them recruiting a complex task force to do so. Outside of the original Celestial Venerables, leaders of the half-gods, the son of Heaven Duke, the daughter of Earth Count, and even Celestial Emperor were involved. However, not many people should have such a large reaction to Ju Wuchen. Outside of Celestial Empress and Mistress Yuanmu, the most likely person would be Celestial Emperor. It would be interesting if Heavenly Lady Chang was Celestial Emperor. Qin Mu immediately thought about a possibility in the Dragon Han Celestial Heavens back then. Celestial Emperor might have split part of his soul to become Heavenly Lady Chang, infiltrating his harem to prevent Celestial Empress from gathering the power of the harem and growing too powerful. After all, that could have threatened his rule. He saw how Celestial Empress and Mistress Yuanmu caused trouble in his harem as Heavenly Lady Chang. When he went down and reincarnated to put down the Ju Wuchen that Mistress Yuanmu created, Heavenly Lady Chang stayed in the harem. Then, his corporeal body was in the Celestial Heavens as well. However, it was hollow without Celestial Emperor's primordial spirit. Mistress Yuanmu and the Heaven Alliance then took out the reincarnated Celestial Emperor and excommunicated his soul. After that, Celestial Venerable Yun, Celestial Venerable Hao, and Mistress Yuanmu's Ju Wuchen rushed to the Celestial Heavens to try and steal his corporeal body. These were things that Qin Mu already knew. What if they found out that Celestial Emperor's corporeal body had already been controlled when they rushed into the Celestial Heavens to control it? Qin Mu blinked. What if the one who controlled it was Heavenly Lady Chang? Who was the third-party winner then? Of course, it was only a theory. However, he was certain that if the ancient Celestial Emperor wanted to maintain his rule back then, he would have left someone behind to protect his corporeal body. The simplest route was to leave a part of himself in his harem. Thus, that part of his soul could be hiding in the harem. As such, Heavenly Lady Chang and Heavenly Lady Yan could be Celestial Emperor. Given the former surprised reaction to Divine King Langwa, the probability was high. Besides that, there was also something else. Celestial Venerable Hao's biological father. Qin Mu's gaze stayed on Heavenly Lady Chang with his usual smile as he thought. Celestial Emperor might have fallen for Yuanmu. He might have wanted to give birth to a half-god to find a way to extend the longevity of half-gods, so he reincarnated. Becoming a human, he gave birth to a half-god, Celestial Venerable Hao with Mistress Yuanmu, who was an ancient god. After giving birth to him, what happened to that version of him? Does it still exist? Is he hiding in the 10 Celestial Venerables? If he is still here, Celestial Emperor wouldn't need Heavenly Lady Chang or Heavenly Lady Yan. He would only need to leave a soul in that form. Celestial Venerable Hao's biological father had always been a secret. The only person who knew the real identity of the reincarnated Celestial Emperor was probably Mistress Yuanmu. If Mistress Yuanmu exposed the identity of Celestial Emperor's reincarnation, her own identity would be exposed. This allowed them to maintain a delicate balance where their identities remained a secret. In Celestial Emperor's chambers of concubines, Qin Mu, Heavenly Lady Chang, and Divine King Langwa looked at each other in silence. The atmosphere was tense. Only Divine King Shujun didn't care about the situation. He looked around and asked, "This is Celestial Emperor's chambers of concubines? No wonder it smells so good." His words awakened the three of them. Qin Mu's smile became more honest as he paid his respects to Heavenly Lady Chang. He politely said, "I pay my respects to you, Heavenly Lady Chang. I have been here for so long, yet I was always busy making me unable to see you. Please forgive me." Heavenly Lady Chang returned the ceremony and smiled. Celestial Venerable Mu, you are too modest. I have been here for so long, yet I haven't visited you. You should be the one forgiving me. They kept their doubts to themselves, and everything they said was formalities. Qin Mu said, "We accidentally intruded. Luckily we met you, or else we would have been in big trouble." Heavenly Lady Chong laughed. "The roads here crisscross a lot and are quite confusing. It's reasonable that you would accidentally intrude here, considering you don't know the way. If you can't find your way out, I will order people to lead you out." Qin Mu thanked her, and Heavenly Lady Chong smiled back. "A pleasure to help. I heard that you went on an expedition in the Great Void to find Carefree Village. There have been a lot of rumors claiming you died there with the whole army gone. I didn't think you would come back alive and enter here. Could the people with you be from Carefree Village?" Qin Mu laughed. "Of course not. You seem to recognize my sister, though? Have you two met?" Heavenly Lady Chong shallowly smiled. "We have not. Celestial Venerable Mu, you haven't come here." Qin Mu smiled. "I haven't seen you either." Heavenly Lady Chong nodded and clapped. Two palace maids came. She whispered to them and they nodded before gently saying, "Please follow us, precious guests." They led them away. Heavenly Lady Chong sent them off before frowning and whispering, "Which one of the two wretches is she? This is strange, too strange." Qin Mu looked back, and Heavenly Lady Chong smiled again. They smiled at each other from a distance. Qin Mu followed the palace maids, who clearly recognized him. They looked at one another, but they didn't dare to speak. Qin Mu smiled. "Sister, how long have you been following her?" They didn't reply to him directly. Instead, one of them giggled and said, "Celestial Venerable Mu, you are shameless. You peeped on us bathing with the Emperor's lady a few days ago, but you seem to have forgotten about it." Qin Mu blushed and didn't dare to ask again. He sneakily glanced at Divine King Langhua. Divine King Langhua looked normal and unfazed. Shu Jun was excited and asked, "Sisters, which of the Emperor's ladies was the one bathing on that day? Was it that Heavenly Lady Chong from just now?" Qin Mu's face was as black as iron. They didn't dare to answer. If they answered, they would probably die. When Qin Mu opened the door to Celestial Emperor's chambers of concubines twice at the Void Bridge, then a huge ruckus was caused already. The Emperor's lady imposed a gag order and killed a bunch of gossiping palace maids. They were lucky to survive, which made them naturally worried about their circumstances. Celestial Emperor's chambers of concubines was vast. The palace maids led them down alleyways to avoid people and sent them out through the back door. Qin Mu looked back and whispered, "There seems to be a lot of secrets hidden there." Divine King Langhua vaguely said, "And a lot of bathing ladies too." Qin Mu didn't say another word. Shu Jun nodded and said, "When he opened the door then, he just so happened to see the Emperor's lady and palace maids bathing. There were a lot of them, and their skin was really white." Qin Mu glanced at Shu Jun, and Shu Jun shivered as if he fell into an abyss. Qin Mu smiled. "Sister Divine King, this is the celestial heavens. You wanted to see your ancestral court. Now you got your wish, right?" Divine King Langhua looked around and saw the light beams above the celestial heavens being funneled together. It was odd for her. It was the Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge that Qin Mu designed. She didn't recognize it. There were several more times the number of Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridges here than when Qin Mu left. Various worlds and heavens like Yudu and Xuandu were likely connected by it. It was convenient for everyone, as well as for the celestial heavens rule. Divine King Shu Jun shook his head. "This is the celestial heavens of the ancient gods, not our ancestral court." Divine King Langhua was young then, so she likely hasn't gone there before. "It's not here." Qin Mu was stunned as he asked, "The celestial heavens isn't your ancestral court?" Divine King Shu Jun shook his head. "No." Divine King Langhua said, "I also feel like it isn't. I heard from our spirit ancestors that the ancestral court was extremely vast and filled with holy mountains and rivers on top of or deposits of divine creation rocks. There were countless other precious minerals too. Although this place is filled with riches, it doesn't seem like the ancestral court my spirit ancestors talked about." Qin Mu frowned. His first impression of the ancestral court of the masters of creation was the celestial heavens. However, it seemed that he was wrong. This should be the ancient celestial emperor's birthplace. Divine King Shujun sniffed around, saying, I sniffed the fellow's great Tao smell. There are big secrets hidden in his birthplace. From what I smelled, his birthplace is somewhere in the chambers of concubines. Qin Mu looked at him peculiarly, thinking, the smell of great Tao? He can smell that too? Could Shu Jun's nose be different from ours? However, if Celestial Emperor's birthplace is the chambers of concubines, it would be a shocking secret. If only one could enter the chambers to explore. He shook his head. Although Celestial Venerable Chong harmoniously ordered people to send them out, it would be difficult to enter the place again. Fatty Dragon and Yenner are still in the Vermilion Bird Palace. I should pick them up first. Qin Mu calculated and thought, I have no properties here, and I don't have money to buy one. It's quite troubling. He led the two of them to the temporary palace of South Deity in the Celestial Palace. She originally had her own celestial palace called the Vermilion Bird Palace. However, it was moved to the South Pole. She left behind only a temporary residential palace that shared the same name. However, it wasn't as vast as before, for it was a mere normal palace. Qin Mu arrived and saw that it wasn't big. There was another palace beside it that was extravagant and extremely vast. It was Qi Shiyu's temporary palace in the south of the celestial heavens called the Loyalty Submission Palace. It meant submitting oneself to loyalty. Due to how Red Deity Qi Shiyu wasn't the original Red Deity of the celestial heavens, but one who paid allegiance to them during the battle to eradicate the High Emperor Celestial Heavens, her temporary palace was called the Loyalty Submission Palace. The Loyalty Submission Palace was more extravagant and tall than the Vermilion Bird Palace. Qin Mu arrived at the latter but saw that the palace was locked. He asked the god guarding it what happened, and he replied, Oh, it's Celestial Venerable Mu. Mistress Yen and Master Pai have already left and returned to your Celestial Venerable residence. Qin Mu was shocked. Celestial Venerable residence? Do you not know about it? That god smiled. It was a gift to you from the Emperor. It's in the Jade Capital. Please follow me, I'll lead you all there. Qin Mu frowned, for he was unnerved. I am poor here. How can I upkeep a large property like a Celestial Venerable residence? I should stay at the Jade Pool and live off Celestial Empress, or else I won't be able to pay for my daily expenses. That god sent them to the Celestial Venerable Mu Palace at the Jade Capital. They saw that it was extremely vast and luxurious, and there was a building every 5 steps and a pavilion every 10 steps. It was like a small celestial palace. Qin Mu was stunned. He soon heard Hu Linger's voice from within. Quickly, quickly! Decorate this place before Master returns. This is a Celestial Venerable residence, and it should feel like one to not throw away Master's face. We don't lack money. Fatty Dragon, come over here. This is your palace. Qin Mu walked into the residence and heard Hu Linger's voice get closer. Do you prefer the place to be decorated like a dragon's nest or a Qilin's cave? Do you need a chain to sleep? Do you want Eternal Peace's heavenly workers to build a pure gold chain for you? I don't want a gold chain, it's out of fashion. I want a golden bowl, 3 of them. The dragon Qilin's voice rang out as he said, I want my room to be like Sister Yenner's. I want half of it to be a dragon's nest and half of it to be a bird's nest. I don't want a Qilin's cave, it's out of fashion. Cultmaster. Cultmaster's back. The dragon Qilin turned around and was pleasantly surprised, though Hu Linger flew towards Qin Mu before he could. She morphed into a small 10-year-old girl flying towards Qin Mu. Qin Mu bent down and picked her up, hugging her. He then placed her on his shoulder and laughed. Linger, you're here. Why did you come here? Hu Linger hugged his face and rubbed it. She quickly said, The celestial heavens wanted to build a spirit energy mutual shift bridge, so they contracted Eternal Peace's workers to do it. I'm here to give the completed bridge to the Patriarch Creation Palace and settle the bill. I'm also here to take care of your Celestial Venerable residence. The other Celestial Venerable residences look luxurious. Yours, in comparison, looks dilapidated. Fatty Dragon and Sister Yenner had to rely on that fellow Qijui to survive. They were starving. Who is this sister? She suddenly noticed Divine King Langhua and instinctively revealed her hostility. Her foxtails, along with the hair on them, rose up. She was alarmed. Qin Mu coughed and said, I am Langhua. Divine King Langwa sized Hu Linger up and opened her palm. There was a pearl in it. She smiled and said, "Sister Linger, this is a gift for you for our first meeting." "No thanks." Hu Linger turned around and shook her head. "I don't take people's stuff easily, I might end up compromised." Divine King Langwa patiently explained. "This is a mini heaven. Although there isn't much space inside, you can easily place a solar system in it. I also heard that you like wine, so I placed some inside. Not much though, only enough to fill a lake." Hu Linger was touched. Her hand reached out and quietly took the small heaven pearl despite not looking at her. After receiving it, her face revealed her happiness as she asked, "How did you know I like wine?" Divine King Langwa smiled and glanced at Qin Mu. Hu Linger understood her and thought, "Of course Master treats me well." Qin Mu knew that he never told Divine King Langwa about Hu Linger's tastes and preferences. Divine King Langwa knew about it because her consciousness was too strong. She knew everything about her just by being with Hu Linger for a little bit. The dragon Qilin walked over and sized up Divine King Langwa. He sniffed her scent and was alarmed. "It's not Yun Chuxiu, but she's a schemer. She bribed Big Sister upon meeting her. It seems that Cult Master has been seduced by her too." Divine King Langwa looked at him and the dragon Qilin asked, "Lady Lang, do you have a large pot and a steamer? I like them." Divine King Langwa flipped her palms, and a golden pot and steamer appeared in front of the dragon Qilin. She smiled. "This?" Hu Linger curiously examined her. She didn't know where she retrieved the objects from. The dragon Qilin sized them up and raised the pot. He then put the steamer on the pot before jumping above it to breathe fire down to heat the pot. Qin Mu was weirded out for he didn't know why he was doing this. The dragon Qilin raised his claws and took the steamer cover, saying, "Cult Master, in the past, people took their coffins to court. Today, people steam themselves in the face of higher authority. I have a story for you, Cult Master. If you want to hear it, I will come down. If you don't, I will steam myself for you to eat." Qin Mu put down Linger and smiled. "It's time to eat, fatty dragon, come down." "Oh." The dragon Qilin jumped down from the steamer. Divine King Langwa curiously asked, "Do you like to eat spirit pills? I have a basin that can concentrate treasures here. If you put one spirit pill in it, 100 will flood out. Do you like it?" The dragon Qilin thought about it and decided to surrender to her thinking. She is powerful. She knows how to play along with our interests. I cannot beat her. Suddenly, a small green sparrow flew and landed on the dragon Qilin's head. It tilted its head to size up Divine King Langwa curiously. Divine King Langwa's eyes turned, and she gave the basin she retrieved to the sparrow. The sparrow landed and became Yenner. Divine King Langwa placed a spirit pill into the basin and smiled. "Please observe, Sister Yenner." As soon as the pill fell into the basin, many more of them flooded out. Yenner was pleasantly surprised, and she took one of them for the dragon Qilin. She was unable to contain her joy as she said, "Things will be so much more convenient now that we have this basin." Divine King Langwa smiled as Qin Mu walked in front of her to examine this celestial venerable residence's furnishings. Many of Eternal Peace's workers were renovating it. It had luxurious decorations like sculptures and paintings. Divine King Langwa followed him and Qin Mu said, "Divine King, don't always use your consciousness to probe others. If you continue, others will have no secrets in front of you. If you know everything about them and can create things, you might seem too much like a schemer." Divine King Langwa smiled and replied, "Holy Infant, as the Divine King of the Masters of Creation, knowing the thoughts of the masses is our forte. As our infant, you have the same power. Wouldn't it be wasteful if you don't use it?" Before Qin Mu could reply, Divine King Shu Jun walked along and lazily said, "Do you not see it or understand it yet, Holy Infant? Divine King Langwa is the only Divine King of the Permitha world. She is a being that can even take on Celestial Venerable Qin. How could she be pure and innocent? Every moment of our existence in the Permitha world was planned by her. She controls the Masters of Creation. Such scheming and tricks are normal." Divine King Langwa glanced at him and smiled. "What are you talking about, Divine King?" "Nothing much." Shu Jun opened up his embrace and revealed his skinny torso. Due to his consciousness not being fully recovered, the corporeal body he visualized was as skinny as a matchstick and showed 2 rows of his ribs. He said, I didn't want to stay in the Permethal world because I want to know whether the Grand Emperor is still in the celestial heavens. However, it's also because I know I have no use there. All of the power and authority in the Permethal world are firmly in Divine King Langhua's hands. Even if she wanted to leave the Permethal world with you, I wouldn't be able to take away any power or authority. He smiled. Isn't it the same for you? Think about it carefully. Your reputation is great among the masters of creation, but do you have any power or authority? Can you mobilize the clans? Qinmu sighed and shook his head. No, the reason I am the Holy Infant is because of her manipulation. If she wanted to get rid of my kingship and status, it would be easy for her. Divine King Langhua frowned and gently said, I won't use my consciousness to probe others' thoughts again. Better not. Qinmu sincerely said, This isn't the Permethal world or Carefree Village. This is the celestial heavens, where danger lurks around every corner. Every celestial venerable here has power equivalent to or higher than that of Founding Emperor. Celestial Emperor and the Grand Emperor are among them too. Countless ancient gods take note of this place too. If you use your consciousness casually, you can reveal your identity easily. I treat you sincerely, and I hope to be treated in the same way. Divine King Langhua nodded. Qinmu gave a sigh of relief and smiled. I will let Linger arrange your rooms for you. Although we likely can't stay here for long, at least we will have a place to stay. After you are familiarized with the place, we will find your ancestral court. He summoned Hu Linger and ordered her. She then took them to pick their rooms. After she was done, Qinmu looked for her again to ask about eternal peace. Our shipyards took over the work from the Patriarch Creation Palace and built various components to the Spirit Energy Mutual Shift Bridge. We built a lot of them in 2 years and at a low price too. The Celestial Heavens Tao sect came to examine everything and said that the algebra was precise with minimal errors. Hu Linger said, Now that our reputation is out there and we earned quite a lot, the Celestial Heavens Tao sect contracted us to design divine weapons for them. Our shipyards kept on working regardless of time to build them. Of course, we only received a small portion of the jobs. After all, besides us, there are a lot of other heavens helping the celestial heavens forge divine weapons, causing us to only receive a small portion of the jobs. Soon there will be more. Qinmu said, Everything looks peaceful here, but war will come soon. Carefree Village will act, and Heaven Duke, Earth Count, and the 4 deities of the 4 poles will face the celestial heavens. While they are still not deployed, they are gathering rations and weapons. If the celestial heavens want to touch these powers, they will have to prepare weapons to prevent shortages on the battlefield. He trudged around saying, When the celestial heavens open the great void up as a battlefield, the casualties will mount. When that happens, too many heavy divine weapons will be damaged, and the shipyards of the celestial heavens and various great heavens won't be able to keep up. At that time, eternal peace will be permitted to build them. More wars means that more fortune will flow towards eternal peace at a faster rate. Less fortune will then be available for the other heavens, and more rebellions will come from them. Hu Linger asked, When are you returning to eternal peace? Qinmu hesitated and replied, I can't go back for now. If I stay here, eternal peace will be safer. If I go there, eternal peace will be exposed to more danger. Celestial Venerable, Yun Chuxiu of the Yun family asks for an audience. A maid outside said, Yun Chuxiu? Isn't she dead? Wasn't she cut down by Divine Knife Luo and thrown under the Void Bridge? Did Mistress Yuanmu create another Yun Chuxiu? Qinmu felt his head aching. The Great Void was perilous, and Mistress Yuanmu had likely suffered enough there to not enter it again. As long as she didn't enter the Great Void, she wouldn't know what Yun Chuxiu met and saw. She wouldn't know about Luo Wushuang's betrayal either. Mistress Yuanmu likely created another Yun Chuxiu to scout him out after hearing about his return. However, if Yun Chuxiu came and saw Divine King Langhua, no. Qinmu waved and said, Chase her away. At that moment he heard Yun Chuxiu. Celestial Venerable Mu, how cruel of you to chase me away. Did you forget our love at the Jade Pool? Qinmu was furious. She barged into a celestial venerable residence and was spouting nonsense. However, he needed Mistress Yuanmu to survive in the celestial heavens. Yun Chuxiu's laughter pierced his ear as she said, We found true love when suffering together in the Great Void. Are you really going to be so heartless? Who are you? Qin Mu's heart jumped as he walked out. He saw two Ju Wuxians staring at each other. One of them was Yun Chuxiu, and the other was Divine King Langhua. How unlucky can I get? Qin Mu clenched his teeth and was about to walk forward when Yun Chuxiu laughed coldly. Is this you, sister? Where did you steal the blueprint for Ju Wuxian? Only I had it. At that moment, another female god reported. Celestial Venerable, the disciple of Celestial Venerable, Hao Lianhua Han, pleads for an audience. Qin Mu's eyes jumped. Celestial Empress was there too. Obviously, Celestial Empress came to scout him out after hearing about his safe return to the celestial heavens from the Great Void. Yun Chuxiu was shocked as she dazedly looked at Divine King Langhua. If this nearly identical-looking lady wasn't a clone of Celestial Empress, then who was she? Please, Qin Mu said effortlessly. Lianhua Han came over. She fell into a daze when she looked at the two Ju Wuxians. These two wretches. Yun Chuxiu was laughing coldly in her heart as she looked at Lianhua Han. Her guts increased by threefold. There are actually two wretches. I wonder which is the real one. Early on, when Luo Wushuang and Qin Mu were traveling with 200 men towards the Great Void, Yun Chuxiu and Lianhua Han had already uncovered each other before they entered the Great Void. Based on each other's appearances, they already knew in their hearts. Now, however, Yun Chuxiu felt a little uncertain. Qin Mu was in a bind as he stood in front of the three ladies. He thought to himself, I hope Divine King Langhua can restrain herself and not use her consciousness to search Lianhua Han and Yun Chuxiu. Otherwise, even I can't protect her. The two were Celestial Empress and Mistress Yuanmu. Although they didn't have the true bodies of ancient gods anymore, they were nevertheless celestial venerables that had leaped out of the restraints of the ancient gods, and had hidden among the 10 celestial venerables. If Divine King Langhua didn't exercise restraint, and used her consciousness to run through their memories, she would be inviting the two celestial venerables to kill her. Although Divine King Langhua was able to handle Founding Emperor alone, she would suffer a terrible death if she were to face two celestial venerables at the same time. That was especially so when they had the divine weapon Celestial Venerable Yu. Divine King Langhua, being a divine king of the race of masters of creation, would have outstanding thoughts and actions. She should be able to exercise proper restraint. Celestial Venerable Mu, who are these two sisters? Lianhua Han asked as she paid her respects to Qin Mu. Qin Mu said helplessly, This is the Yun family's Yun Chuxiu, while this is Langhua. Please feel free to chat. I have some other matters to attend to. Celestial Venerable, please stay. Yun Chuxiu stepped forward and held his arm, putting it between her breasts. She said with a smile, I'm afraid of strangers. It would be good if Celestial Venerable could stay. There's one more matter. Has Celestial Venerable been to the Great Void? When did you come back? Celestial Venerable, what did you encounter there? Qin Mu said with a straight face, Younger sister, you have also been to the Great Void. Whatever happened there, how could you not know? I really have matters to attend to. Yun Chuxiu blinked her eyes and burst out giggling. Did Celestial Venerable forget? We lost contact with each other after we entered the Great Void. Hence, younger sister doesn't know of Celestial Venerable's encounters. Wretch! Lianhua Han gave a snort and said indifferently, How did your family teach you? How can you be so rude when talking to a Celestial Venerable? Yun Chuxiu rolled her eyes at her. She then glanced at Divine King Langhua, suspicion in her heart. She thought, the mannerisms of this wretch Lianhua Han are just like elder sister. What about this Langhua? Where did she come from? Her aura isn't inferior to that of my wretched elder sister. Which Celestial Venerable created this Ju Wuxian to impersonate elder sister? Suddenly, a god official came forward to announce Celestial Emperor's decree. I proclaim, Celestial Venerable Mu is to enter the palace for an audience. Qin Mu heaved a sigh of relief, but his heart tightened. The Celestial Emperor in the celestial heavens is also a fake created by the creation divine weapon. The corporeal body of the real Celestial Emperor is trapped in Celestial Venerable Ling's divine art. In that case, which Celestial Venerable is the Celestial Emperor who summoned me today? That god official said. Celestial Venerable waged war on the Great Void. He worked hard and contributed valuable service. According to His Majesty's instructions, He will be rewarded with precious stones and beauties. Just as he finished talking, the accompanying gods brought along many palace girls, precious stones and treasures. Qin Mu summoned Hu Linger so that she could accept the gifts. He then followed that god official into the palace to meet the emperor. The eyes of Yun Chuxiu rolled around frantically as she went forward to grab Divine King Langhua's arm. Smiling, she said, "Elder sister Langhua, we look so alike, like long-lost twin sisters. Elder sister, we must have a good chat. Who knows, we might really be long-lost sisters." Lian Huahan snorted and said indifferently, "Yes, you may be sisters. Even so, a sister would still have to guard herself against being stabbed in the back." Divine King Langhua gently said, "Elder sister Lian, why do you say that? When I saw the two of you, I felt a sense of kinship, as though we came from the same root. I can't help but want to know both of you better." Qin Mu hastened his footsteps and left the celestial venerable residence quickly. He followed the god official into the inner city of the celestial heavens. That god official said, "It's currently not the time for court. His Majesty is waiting for celestial venerable at the Hall of Nourishment." Qin Mu narrowed his eyes as he thought to himself, "Hall of Nourishment? Unless it's a female celestial venerable controlling the corporeal body of celestial emperor? I wonder which of the 4 female celestial venerables it is." When they arrived at the Hall of Nourishment, the god official signaled Qin Mu to stay outside as he walked with small steps into the hall. He said, "Your Majesty, Celestial Venerable Mu is here. Proclaim." The voice of Celestial Emperor traveled over. The god official once again walked with small steps out of the hall. He smiled at Qin Mu and said, "Celestial Venerable Mu, please." Qin Mu walked into the hall. He raised his head and saw the ancient Celestial Emperor sitting upright on the throne inside the Hall of Nourishment. His corporeal body was humongous, and his eyes were closed. There were many goddesses carrying plates made from jade. On them were treasured spirit ointments and herbs. The goddesses fluttered around with sashes, circling the ancient Celestial Emperor. Their movements were graceful as they carefully applied the spirit ointments on Celestial Emperor's skin. Some goddesses were shuttling in between his hair, applying some ointment there as well, nourishing it. There were also some goddesses sitting by the feet of Celestial Emperor, using pestles to grind spirit herbs as they added water from the jade spring, hence creating the spirit ointment. They then applied it onto the feet of the ancient Celestial Emperor. There were several elegant-looking girls around the area of the ancient Celestial Emperor's exposed skin, delicately applying the ointment on the rune markings on his body. In the hall there was leisurely music. Periodically there would be goddesses striking chimes, giving off melodious chords. "Celestial Venerable Mu, please take a seat." The ancient Celestial Emperor opened his eyes as he raised his hand to signal. Several of the goddesses who had been trimming his nails hurriedly flew up, moving up his palm. The goddesses who were tidying his brows were also flustered. They frantically landed on his brows, tidying them thread by thread. Qin Mu sat down, continuing to observe this ancient Celestial Emperor. From his appearance, the Celestial Heaven's Celestial Emperor looked very similar to the ancient Celestial Emperor that was trapped by Celestial Venerable Ling's divine art. He had the air of a master of 10,000 das, and the bearing of an overlord who had dominated the entire universe. Behind his head, there were many goddesses circling his halos, cleaning them so that they would appear brighter. The ancient Celestial Emperor was also examining Qin Mu. After some time he said, "Celestial Venerable Mu has worked hard and contributed valuable service, waging war on the Great Void. Do you know the whereabouts of Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su?" "Your Majesty, Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su were trapped in the Great Void. They have managed to escape since," Qin Mu said. "From this exploration of the Great Void, I have discovered the race of Masters of Creation and the location of Carefree Village." The ancient Celestial Emperor's expression wavered as the halos behind his head shook slightly. Many goddesses who were utterly exhausted cleaning the halos couldn't keep up. Around the ancient Celestial Emperor's mouth, the goddesses who had been cleaning his lips also hurriedly flew away. If not, they might have been knocked away by his breath or sucked into his lungs. Qin Mu observed the ancient Celestial Emperor's expression. Just from this, it was very difficult to determine which Celestial Venerable was inside this corporeal body. Celestial Venerable Mu, please tell me in detail, the ancient celestial emperor said. Qin Mu bowed slightly and said, when I entered the Great Void, I discovered that the consciousness there was in a disorderly state. This had something to do with the masters of creation from prehistory. I also uncovered the tracks of the leader of the masters of creation, the Grand Emperor. His corporeal body was trapped in the Great Void. I believe your majesty is familiar with the Grand Emperor. He observed the expression of the ancient celestial emperor. However, his expression remained unchanged. Qin Mu was really unable to see any changes in the state of mind of the celestial venerable controlling his corporeal body. The Grand Emperor was a rebel and has to be looked into, the ancient celestial emperor said. Celestial Venerable, please continue. Qin Mu retracted his gaze and said, I discovered that the Grand Emperor's corporeal body was frozen in the Supreme Consciousness realm. His corporeal body was incomparably strong, and his consciousness vast. Maybe we could capture his body and parade his head publicly, so as to display the power and awe of the heavens. The ancient celestial emperor didn't express his opinion. At this moment, Qin Mu felt a ripple in the ancient celestial emperor's aura. Another stream of power had entered this celestial emperor's corporeal body. Those goddesses looked as though they didn't feel anything. However, his consciousness was extremely sharp and was able to feel clearly the ripple of this aura. There are two celestial venerables in this celestial emperor's corporeal body now. Qin Mu raised his eyebrows but maintained his expression as he continued talking. I also had other discoveries. The Grand Emperor wasn't dead. The Great Void merely trapped his corporeal body. His consciousness escaped and left the Great Void. Also, his consciousness was strong beyond imagination. There's a portion of his consciousness hiding either in the celestial heavens or in the other tens of thousands of worlds in heavens. The ancient celestial emperor revealed a pleasant smile and said, Celestial Venerable Mu's discoveries are indeed shocking. A rebel like the Grand Emperor should be dragged out and executed, so as to display the awe of the heavens. Celestial Venerable Mu, do you think the Grand Emperor is currently hiding in one of the tens of thousands of worlds in heavens or in the celestial heavens? Qin Mu solemnly said, I dare not say with certainty. At this point, another faint aura rippled, entering the body of Celestial Emperor. The third Celestial Venerable had arrived. The Grand Emperor is still alive. This matter is of great significance, and we have to guard against him. A joke. There are always rebels who are lusting after my territories. The current tone of the ancient Celestial Emperor was different from before. It was clearly the third Celestial Venerable who was speaking. He said, Peace has just arrived in the tens of thousands of worlds and heavens. Now there's trouble again. These rebels really thought that I wouldn't start a massacre. Suddenly, another aura rippled, burrowing into Celestial Emperor's body. He suddenly changed his expression and gently laughed. Celestial Venerable Mu has worked hard and performed well, discovering the matter about the Grand Emperor. However, could Celestial Venerable Mu tell me more about Carefree Village and the race of masters of creation? Qin Mu said calmly, When I was in the Great Void, I discovered the tracks of the rebel Qin Yi. He battled with Celestial Venerable Hua, and both were injured badly. The face of the ancient Celestial Emperor immediately had an extremely pleased expression. As he kept on changing expressions, the goddesses that were shaving his face appeared to be at a loss. Qin Mu saw this and laughed coldly in his heart. He continued saying, That rebel Qin Yi is still the leader of Carefree Village, roaming about the Great Void. Celestial Venerable Hua has already left the Great Void. I believe he should be returning to the celestial heavens soon. As to exactly where Carefree Village and Qin Yi are, Celestial Venerable Hua would know better. Right at this moment, an aura gushed forth, quietly burrowing into Celestial Emperor's body and saying, Are there any strange activities going on with the Masters of Creation? Qin Mu said, The Masters of Creation aren't extinct. I discovered the survivors on the other side of the void, having migrated there. Their aggressive nature is hard to suppress, and they are plotting a counterattack. However, my abilities are too weak, so I didn't dare go forward to check on them. However, I saw Celestial Venerable Su heading there, trying to seek out the survivors of the Masters of Creation. The sixth aura surged forth. also disappearing into the body of Celestial Emperor. The ancient Celestial Emperor's expression felt a little charming as he said, "Celestial Venerable Mu, you must be tired from your journey. What happened to the people who went with you to the Great Void?" Qin Mu heaved a sigh and said, "Heaven is always jealous of the talented. The only survivors of the Great Void are Yun Chuxiu of the Yun family and Lian Huahan, who is under Celestial Venerable Hao. The rest of them died in the Great Void. Is Divine Knife Luo Wushuang also dead?" Qin Mu shook his head and said, "When I arrived at the Great Void, I lost contact with Divine Knife Luo. I don't know where he is." The ancient Celestial Emperor sighed as another aura surged forth. There were actually 7 Celestial Venerables controlling the body of Celestial Emperor. Divine Knife Luo was the top divine knife of the Celestial Heavens. I even hoped that he would be able to establish the Heaven Duke of Knife Dao. I didn't expect that he would be trapped in the Great Void. This is depressing and regrettable. The ancient Celestial Emperor said, "Celestial Venerable Mu really didn't manage to find Carefree Village?" Qin Mu said solemnly, "I have yet to discover Carefree Village. However, I have traversed the land of the Great Void and am very familiar with it. I have even drawn up a geographical map. Present it." Qin Mu took out the map as a goddess came forward to receive it. She then presented it to the ancient Celestial Emperor. The ancient Celestial Emperor opened up the geographical map and examined it. He fell silent as he pondered. Suddenly, the 8th aura gushed forth, entering Celestial Emperor's body, also inspecting the geographical map of the Great Void. Qin Mu's gaze flickered. He suddenly said, "I suspect the Grand Emperor is in the Celestial Heavens. He could even be hiding among the Celestial Venerables." Within the body of Celestial Emperor, the aura suddenly descended into a chaotic state. His hair was standing on end as his sleeves fluttered. The halos behind his head began to spin madly. Qin Mu watched this with a smile. At this moment, the 8 Celestial Venerables in the body of Celestial Emperor were checking each other out. The goddesses that were taking care of the ancient Celestial Emperor's corporeal body were at a loss. They had never seen him flustered like this. Now the ancient Celestial Emperor looked like he had lost total control of his corporeal body. His face contorted in different directions as though it was 8 separate pieces, with each piece being an individual face with its own expression. He also seemed to have lost control over his body. His 10 fingers were twisted as tendons popped out madly. The muscles underneath his skin looked like countless dragons burrowing and fighting. The scene was indeed shocking, and those goddesses were so frightened that they fell into a daze. Qin Mu stood up and said, "All of you are dismissed." Those goddesses stepped back and left the Hall of Nourishment. Qin Mu bowed and said, "Your Majesty seems to be unwell. I'll take my leave now." When he was about to leave, waves of tremor suddenly surged forth. The 8 Celestial Venerables weren't fighting anymore, and looked as though they left Celestial Emperor's corporeal body at the same time. They retracted their magic power and consciousness and stopped getting involved with each other. Every one of them was afraid. When attacking each other in Celestial Emperor's body, one had to simultaneously defend against the 7 other Celestial Venerables. There was even a chance that the other Celestial Venerables would gang up on one Celestial Venerable, hence revealing his real techniques. If this were the case, it was better to simply retreat. After all, being together in Celestial Emperor's corporeal body was very dangerous to all of them. The matter of the Grand Emperor hiding among them wasn't that pressing, and they could take their time to investigate. But to end up revealing one's most powerful ability, that would be a heavy price to pay. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body was instantly emptied. Without their control, the ancient Celestial Emperor slowly shut his eyes. The halos behind his head continued to spin gently and weren't as violent as before. His chest was rising and falling, showing that he was still breathing. His aura returned to normal while the blood in his body continued to circulate. It was as though the majestic celestial river was flowing through his veins. The most explosive force was hidden in his heart. It felt like the power source of a galaxy, incomparably terrifying. Although this body was built by algebra and the art of creation, and wasn't the real body of Celestial Emperor, it contained limitless power. Qin Mu was dazed. At this moment, in this Hall of Nourishment, he was actually left alone with Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. His gaze flickered as he looked at the body. Although this was just an imitation, it could still be considered the manifestation of the celestial heaven's wisdom, almost on par with the strongest divine weapon, celestial venerable Yu. However, what was crucial wasn't the power of this celestial emperor divine weapon, it was the authority and status it represented. If the 10 celestial venerables could have their fun, why can't I? I'm celestial venerable Mu, whose status is even higher than theirs. Qin Mu seemed like he fell into a trance as he walked towards the corporeal body of the ancient celestial emperor, muttering to himself, "There are many secrets hidden in the celestial heavens." Xu Jun even said that this was the birthplace of the ancient celestial emperor. Also, there's celestial venerable Yu's broken soul, and the Patriarch Creation Palace's creation divine weapon. These are places I'm unable to get close to. However, if I entered celestial emperor's corporeal body, he suppressed the throbbing of his heart. Without missing a step, he soon arrived at the heart of the ancient celestial emperor's brows. Although this celestial emperor's corporeal body was an imitation, from its structure, one was unable to see any traces of algebra. The research of the ancient celestial emperor's corporeal body and runes conducted by the Celestial Heavens Tao sect wasn't a matter of days, but something that lasted over tens of thousands of years. One could say that their study of this ancient god had reached its peak. Although Qin Mu had received the ancient celestial emperor's runes of Great Tao, his research on celestial emperor's Great Tao was still superficial. On the contrary, it was Heaven Duke's runes of Great Tao that benefited him immensely. This showed the intricacy and sophistication of celestial emperor's runes of Great Tao. His consciousness surged forth, gushing into the heart of celestial emperor's brows. In the mind of celestial emperor, he saw a sea of dense purple light. The brain of celestial emperor was in it, meticulously formed by countless runes. It was as though innumerable great Taos had been chained together. When his consciousness entered celestial emperor's Great Tao, it was like entering an extremely intricate machine. He had to ponder which part of the brain controlled the eyes, mouth, and fingers. Even though Qin Mu's consciousness was far stronger than before, it would still require some effort to completely control this corporeal body. It was simply too big. The various parts of the brain represented different Tao, controlling different parts of the body. To mobilize all of these parts would require precise control of Celestial Emperor's brain. It was difficult to master controlling this corporeal body within a short span of time. Also, consciousness was needed to control this body. The speed that it was being consumed was too tough for him. Maybe I can use the method of borrowing bodies to utilize the power inside this corporeal body. Qin Mu put it into action immediately. He had the wisdom of the masters of creation, and was very familiar with the borrowing bodies method that was unique to them. The Grand Emperor once said that he could borrow the body of anyone he wished, hence turning himself into anybody. Although Qin Mu's attainments were beneath the Grand Emperor, nevertheless, it was sufficient to execute this method. After some time, he felt that his consciousness had been perfectly merged with Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, as though he had become the ancient Celestial Emperor. His control of the corporeal body had reached a high degree of precision, just like he was controlling his own body. Not just that, he could accurately determine the location of all of the power sources in this body. Despite it being an imitation, there were about 2,000 power sources of different sizes in the ancient Celestial Emperor's body. The toil on Qin Mu's body would be minimal when mobilizing power from these. Moreover, when mobilizing these power sources of the ancient Celestial Emperor, he had never felt stronger. This method of borrowing bodies of the masters of creation race is indeed tyrannical. Now I can mobilize all of the power of this body. I wonder how strong the ancient Celestial Emperor is. Qin Mu was delighted. The ancient Celestial Emperor got up, his hand making a stroke at the heart of his brow, thereby creating a slit. Qin Mu then flew up and entered that slit. After that, the heart of Celestial Emperor's brows closed up, and he flew out of the Hall of Nourishment. Outside the hall, a crowd of palace girls knelt down, not daring to raise their heads. Qin Mu waved his hand and said indifferently, "Get up." Those palace girls acknowledged his words but only got up after he was far away. Qin Mu brought Celestial Emperor's corporeal body to roam around. As he wasn't familiar with the inner city, he could only wander around aimlessly. It was good that he was now the ancient celestial emperor and could move around without people checking his identity. On the contrary, wherever he went, be it the palace girls, eunuchs, or the god generals guarding the jade capital imperial city, they all knelt in front of him. Shu Jun detected the ancient celestial emperor's birthplace at the chambers of concubines, so it should be over there. Qin Mu excitedly headed towards the chambers of concubines. An enchanting thought arose in his heart. I heard there are countless beauties in celestial emperor's chambers of concubines, and that most of them are top beauties of their respective races. If I enter the chambers, what do I do if these concubines want to sleep with me? He blinked his eyes and seemed slightly troubled. Son pays my respects to father. Suddenly, a big and tall young god bowed at Qin Mu. He raised his head and said delightfully, "Father always dwells in deep seclusion. I haven't seen you for quite a while." Qin Mu's heart tightened. He didn't recognize this young prince and didn't know his name. He could only raise his hand and say, "Rise. I have been busy lately and have neglected you." That young god was ecstatic and hurriedly got up. His eyes looked moist with tears as he forcefully held them back. "Father hasn't responded to me for 40,000 years. Although I'm the crown prince of the East Palace, the number of times I have seen you is less than a palace girl. I have been unable to make the most out of our relationship." Qin Mu's heart leaped. The crown prince of the East Palace? The one who captured Red Deity Qishayu during the later years of the High Emperor era, and forced her to have no choice but to submit? Oh no, this crown prince is an emperor's throne realm expert. That year, Qishayu, being an expert of the South High Emperor Celestial Heavens, killed the previous Red Deity and was pretty full of herself, even building memorials to commemorate this. However, she was captured by this crown prince of the East Palace and was forced to submit to the Celestial Heavens. This crown prince was also an extremely remarkable character. After he captured Qishayu, he also built memorials for himself. Qin Mu had seen 2 of these when the primordial realm broke its seal. It had left a lasting impression on him. I'm not sure if this crown prince of the East Palace is able to see through me. He felt uneasy. Historically, although the ancient celestial emperor had many crown princes, they all came to a terrible end. However, this crown prince of the East Palace was born from the true body of the ancient celestial emperor, and possessed an immensely powerful bloodline. Hence, his abilities were incomparably strong. If he saw through him, would this corporeal body of celestial emperor be able to defeat him? More crucially, he didn't know the name of this crown prince. If only Qishayu or Yun Chuxiu, that little vixen, were here. Papa, that little vixen is Mistress Yumu. If she knew I entered Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, she would kill me or, at the very least, rip my skin off. Qin Mu lowered his head to look at him as he said warmly, "It must have been hard on you all this while. Although I haven't seen you much, I know that your techniques and divine arts have been improving extremely fast. However, in the imperial family, there is little affection between father and son. The stronger you are, the more at ease I am, hence I stopped myself from visiting you. In the past, your brothers rebelled after they had some accomplishments, resulting in a great rift between me and them. That's the reason I neglected you. I don't want you to have the same fate as your brothers." The crown prince of the East Palace hurriedly bowed again. He almost choked on his tears as he said, "Father, heaven and earth can vouch for my loyalty. I wouldn't dare to be disloyal to you. Over the past few years, I have seen the 10 celestial venerables getting stronger and stronger, taking control of the celestial heavens and treating father like a figurehead. I'm worried for your safety." Qin Mu's expression wavered slightly as he coldly said, "Insolent! How dare you criticize the 10 celestial venerables? Do you know what a death penalty is?" The crown prince of the East Palace prostrated on the ground and didn't dare to get up. He choked as he said, "The ancient gods of the present-day court are all subservient to the 10 celestial venerables, lest they meet a horrible end upon refusing to do their bidding. I worry that over time, father has no one to rely on." Qin Mu looked at him coldly. After some time he said, "Rise. Whatever you said, how can I not know? I'm aware of your loyalty. I also have my own methods to cope." The crown prince of the East Palace got up and wiped his tears. Qin Mu sighed ruefully and said, "Good child, you are indeed a good child." "Unlike how?" He didn't seem to want to mention Celestial Venerable How and hence changed the subject quickly. My birthplace is hidden in the celestial heavens. Do you know where this treasured land is? The Crown Prince of the East Palace felt apprehensive. He bowed and said, although I didn't dare ask around about that piece of treasured land, I did hear the people in the palace talking about that forbidden area. However, I haven't been there before. Qin Mu smiled as he said, today, Father shall bring you to visit this piece of ancestral land. Let's go, lead the way. The Crown Prince of the East Palace was delighted when he heard him changing how he referred to himself. He stepped forward to lead the way. Qin Mu followed behind him, a sense of worry quietly arising in his heart. What's the name of this Crown Prince of the East Palace? If I don't know his name, I'll be exposed by him sooner or later. Also, which concubine is his mother? I hope it's not Celestial Empress.